Hey there, YouTube. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We have our 16-team head-to-head categories listener league draft up next. At last, we have made it to our final draft of the offseason, and this is a fun one. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White and Chris Towers. Today, we have our 16-team head-to-head category draft, also known as the For the People League, made famous by one Heath Cummings. Scott, what's the backstory of this league? Because I know you love it.
I don't know exactly what Heath's rationale was. I've always interpreted it as just another way of trolling me because that's something he enjoyed doing. So he made it 16 teams. He made it OBP instead of batting average, quality starts instead of wins. Let's see what else. Stolen bases minus caught stealings instead of just stolen bases. And we figured for the first time this year, since it's clearly not a traditional scoring league, it's already plenty weird enough. We're going to turn saves into saves plus holds, so that we actually know what we're talking about when people ask questions about it. Thought that was a good idea. So I'm embracing the weirdness now. I did happen to win this league last year, which was
the only.
It wasn't the only league I won. I did win an NL-only league too, but. Well, yeah, no, that it was nice to get over that hump that but
kind of the only league you like
weigh me down with.
You hate this league.
Yeah.
And so it's indicative of the season that you had. That the league that you just like always said you hate and don't know how to play in.
I'm pretty sure Scott had a weird draft too. Like you selected Walker Buehler, someone you hated last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you won as a result of it. So yeah,
I went against every instinct. It was like that Seinfeld episode where that's what George does.
Yeah, the Bizarro League for Scott. Let's set up the draft here before we actually get started. Again, 16-team weekly head-to-head categories league with some interesting categories on the hitting side. OBP, home runs, RBI, runs scored, net stolen bases, that's steals minus caught stealing. And then on the pitching side, quality starts, ERA, whip, strikeouts, and saves plus holds. There is no weekly innings minimum. This will be a 22-round draft where you start one of each infield position, 3 outfielders, 1 utility bat, and then 7 pitchers, which you can divvy up however you see fit. You go 7 starters. You can go 7 relievers if you like. The participants in tonight's draft: Jason Gallup, Adam Najemi, Tanner Frost, Doug Rowe, Colin Faint, Brendan Sargent, Matthew Burnett, Jocelyn Corkum, Andrew Skalicki, Neil Kaplan, Josh Weddle, Ashley Harper, and last but not least is Evan Boudreau, who won our FBT March Madness bracket. Congratulations on taking it down. Each of us are pretty spread out throughout the draft. Chris is picking 5th overall. I am 11th, and poor Scott is all the way down at 16. Before we officially kick off the draft, we do have a message from one of our drafters here tonight. Take it away, Neil.
Hi there, this is Neil Kaplan. You might know me as the voice of Optimus Prime from Transformers: Robots in Disguise.
What?
Back in 2001 on Fox Kids. Well, right now, I'm participating in the fantasy baseball draft for the people. So if you'll excuse me, I've got to roll out.
Awesome. Very happy to have Neil Kaplan here with us in the league. Please go check out his IMDb page. The guy has done wonderful things, awesome work, a lot of anime, video games, cartoons.
He's a character on Attack on Titan, right?
He was in Star Wars Visions? Yes. That is so dope.
Yes. And now he's in the podcast For the People League.
Wow.
Let's go. Yeah. So this is awesome. I probably should have done this beforehand, but we'll do it here live on the fly. I've got to get the draft room up. Probably should have done that again. And here we go. All right. So we are getting ready to start it up, and I hope everyone is still with us here. And let's go. We have officially started again. 16 teams, OBP, head-to-head categories. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a weird one, but I'm interested more than anything else to see where relievers go throughout this draft. A lot of people ask us questions about saves plus holds leagues, and here we are. That's exactly what we're doing today. First overall, no surprise, Juan Soto, who just is completely ridiculous in any format that awards walks. OBP, ridiculous walk rate last year. I think it was over a 20% walk rate in the second half last season for Juan Soto. And I think that he is worthy of being the first overall pick in any type of OBP format. Second overall, Trey Turner. Now, Chris, what do you think about Trey Turner in this format? He doesn't walk as much. He's still going to provide a bunch of other categories. And even though he doesn't walk because his batting average is so high, in turn, his OBP will still be very high. But yeah I mean, I think he's still very good. But what do you think about him in OBP?
So I'm wondering, like, the stolen bases minus caught stealing, whether that should matter. My thought is that it's just the same as stolen bases, and you should just value it the same. I don't think he's the number 2 player in this format, but I don't have any problem with him, going number 2 overall in an OBP league. Like, if he plays the way he's supposed to, he's probably still going to be like a 380, 390 OBP guy. So it doesn't really matter.
All right. We have hit a snag here. 3rd overall pick. And I don't know if this, I believe gentleman, actually, Ashley Harper, is here in the draft. But let's see. I resumed the clock. I started over again, and we'll see if we can get that up here. But anyway, yes, we've had 2 picks so far, Juan Soto and Trey Turner. Scott, we had some news here on Tuesday afternoon. Bryson Stott has officially made the Philadelphia Phillies roster, but Alec Boehm has also made the roster. So how do you see this playing out? Do you think that Bryson Stott will get every day at bats to start the season?
Well, the way they were laying it out, I think I was reading a quote from Dave Dombrowski, who runs the front office there. They're not expecting any infielder to be ready to go every day at the start of the year. Obviously, the short buildup to the season. So Stott is capable of playing short, third, and second. Boehm is capable of playing third and first. And so no, I guess is the short answer. I don't know that he's going to play every day, but they feel like he's going to play a lot. Just as they're cycling infielders through the lineup for at least the first month is what they said. And then they'll reevaluate come May. So if Stott does what he's supposed to do, I imagine he'll stick around, but obviously that's a big if for a player who has yet to make his big league debut, but very impressive spring, good on base skills. And somebody worth a late round pick, I would say, is Bryson Stott.
All right, we've got to keep the draft moving here. So on auto for now, Jose Ramirez was the 3rd overall pick, and then Vladimir Guerrero is the 4th overall pick. Vlad, of course, ridiculous batting average, walks a decent amount as well. So look, he's good regardless of format, but I think OBP might even see a slight boost in this format. All right.
I'm struggling with where to go.
Chris, you're on the clock. 5th overall. Again, the first 4 picks: Soto, Trey Turner, Jose Ramirez, Vlad. What are we doing?
So part of my thought, it's down to Garrett Cole or Mike Trout for me. And part of the thought process is I have Mike Trout in a handful of leagues. I don't have Garrett Cole anywhere. And so the game theory part of me is just like, we'll just take Garrett Cole and diversify. And if, Garrett Cole's really awesome, there's a pretty good chance he's going to be worth that pick either way. But I do think Mike Trout's just better. And in this format, I mean, he might have a 450 OBP. I am going to go with Garrett Cole, though, and just ride my hero SP approach and, see where it goes. Only 7 pitcher spots in this format. Obviously, being a head-to-head categories league, there's room for a Marmol strategy if you want to chase that. Saves plus holds. I don't know if that makes it a more viable strategy or not. I guess it does make it a little more viable. But yeah, we'll see how the rest of the draft goes. But I'm not super comfortable there. But that's the decision I made.
All right, Chris. Did the fact that we have quality starts factor into your decision at all? Because I guess that wouldn't change much for Garrett Cole. He does go very deep into his starts.
You would think quality starts, I think that the impact of quality starts versus wins is mostly just that it makes the high end pitchers more predictably elite rather than yes, Garrett Cole should win a lot of games, but is that 15 wins or is that 20 wins? I think that's where the range is. Whereas with quality starts, it's a much narrower range. He should be among the league leaders in quality starts. And I feel more confident in that than I do in, him being among the leaders in wins.
All right. After Chris selected Garrett Cole, that was the 5th pick in the draft. Bo Bichette, Rafael Devers, Corbin Burns, and Mike Trout just went 9th overall. I do think in an OBP league, Bo Bichette probably loses some value, Scott. But
Yeah.
look, if you want to pick up the steals, I can't really blame you. But the OBP will be lower than other hitters in this range.
Yes, it will. And in points leagues, we've even seen him slide to the second round. Points leagues reward walks in a way standard roto doesn't. I also want to point out Rafael Devers, 7th overall. So I have a team I share in the main event for NFBC, and we set the new minimum for Rafael Devers at 9th overall in that draft. So who was that? Who picked Rafael Devers 7th overall? Man after my own heart, whoever it was.
That would be, I don't know.
Not that I would advise picking him over Mike Trout and Bryce Harper in an OBP league, as happened, but still, I like to see the adherence to position scarcity.
All right, I'm going to take Shohei Ohtani. I don't have a single share of Shohei Ohtani, and that will be the theme of today's draft for me. I did want to punt steals, but I think Ohtani to be there 11th overall in a categories league, and even in an OBP league, he strikes out a lot. There might be some misconception that he doesn't walk. He walks a lot. I think it was a 15% walk rate last year for Ohtani. So I guess I'm not punting steals, and I'm going in, and I'll try to build a more balanced roster than expected. I believe Rafael Devers went 7th overall to Evan Boudreau. So yes. Go moving up the board. I want to make sure that you get that third baseman. No chance he was going to make it back in the middle of the second round. So makes sense to me if you want to get him. Shohei Ohtani, I took 11th overall. Walker Buehler goes 12th. Freddie Freeman goes 13th. Mookie Betts goes 14th. We're coming up on Scott's pick shortly. Walker Buehler might surprise some people here going 12th overall in a categories league. But again, quality starts is one of the categories. And Walker Buehler was amazing last season. And he actually led all of baseball in quality starts. I believe it was 28 quality starts and 27 rather. The next closest, Robbie Ray, had 23. Sandy Alcantara had 23 as well. So he should be great once again. Manny Machado was the 15th overall pick. And Scott, you are on the clock for 2.
So I am.
Interesting. Walker Buehler. Sorry, go ahead, Scott. We can talk about it afterwards.
I am not sure what I want to do here. I think I'm going to double tap starting pitcher, which is not an approach I have normally gone with, but this is the league where I go against my every instinct, right? So I think I'm going to go Scherzer and Woodruff because that quality start standard, like you need a lot of them, and it's a difficult standard for the average mid-range pitcher to meet. And part of it is also like Kyle Tucker is the obvious hitter to take there, but when I've talked about this before with the head-to-head categories league, like you got a guy who's going to give you a dozen steals. That's a useful number in a roto league, but when you're measuring steals on a week-to-week basis, what is the impact really? I'm not sure it's great enough. So I considered Ronald Acuna actually over Kyle Tucker.
I think Acuna is the more obvious hitter there.
But then you're waiting a month, and I didn't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah, you're waiting a month, but he might be like I don't think the conception of him has caught up to the fact that he might be like even more valuable in an OBP league at this point because he's become a really, really high walk guy over the past couple of seasons.
No, if I had taken a hitter, it would have been him, but I want to try this approach pitcher. And because I've talked about before also, and this is part of what helped me win last year. I went pitcher a lot with early picks, and some of them weren't very good, like Kyle Hendricks, Shane Bieber. And then with hitters, I just went for like extreme power hitters, basically, not worrying about any other categories and hoping that they would combine for enough home runs in a given week to kind of carry me across the board and everything but steals. And to a degree, it happened. I didn't go into the playoffs as the number 1 seed or anything, but I was good enough to get to the playoffs and then good enough to to carry me through the playoffs. So that's kind of what I'm basing this idea on too.
All right. After you double tap starting pitcher, Scott, you went with Scherzer and Woodruff again. Kyle Tucker, Ronald Acuna, and then Aaron Judge goes. And Aaron Judge is somebody that I was considering heavily myself because, again, in the OBP format, he just walks so much. Really does see a boost in value in a league with OBP. So I was considering Aaron Judge. Shane Bieber is the next pick. I have a pretty good idea of who I want to take. Just want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, I'm going to go with Sandy Alcantara, who I think this is probably the preferred format for him as well, because as great as he pitched last season, I believe he only had 9 wins. He goes deep into his starts. He's going to provide quality starts, but wins could be hard to come by. So I feel like Sandy Alcantara sees quite a boost in this format as well. Chris, I saw a team start Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna, and I just feel like that has you written all over it.
Yeah, I mean, I I really like both of those players, obviously. Part of the problem there in this format in particular is just only 3 outfield spots means that, you've kind of locked yourself into passing on some outfielders. You can have at most 2 outfield only players for the rest of the draft. And so that's a little difficult. Like that introduces some complications, I guess is the way to say it. But that is also, I've talked about this before, but I don't think that's a reason to go away from those guys if they're the top players on your board.
After I selected Sandy Alcantara, Zach Wheeler, the next pitcher off the board, who I believe is scheduled to pitch on either Monday or Tuesday next week. So he's going to throw, I think, another minor league start on Thursday, and then he'll jump back into the rotation at the back end of the rotation the first time through for the Phillies, but looks good to go. And if everything is right for Zach Wheeler, should provide a lot of quality starts as well. After Zach Wheeler, Ozzie Albies, Julio Urias, Yordan Alvarez was the other one that I was heavily considering with my pick. And then Luis Robert. Luis Robert, love the player. I believe he had a sub 5% walk rate last season.
Yeah, he doesn't walk. There was like a period, like the first month of his career, where he had like 3 walks in a 4-game stretch, and it inflated his walk rate. But yeah, I think he's settled in very much as a very low walk rate guy. But he's another guy that he might hit 300 and it won't matter all that much.
Yep. 4.7% walk rate last year for Luis Robert. He wound up hitting 338, so that helped the OBP get to a 378 mark there. Chris, you got George Springer. I feel like this worked out pretty perfectly for you. Someone that you like. He walks a lot, and it's a nice pairing to go along with Garrett Cole. So you have 1 ace and now one hitter.
Yeah, and he wasn't necessarily the number 1 player on my board in a roto draft, but the 2 guys who are ahead of him in roto for me, he was the 3rd going by my roto rankings. The 2 guys who are ahead, Cedric Mullins and Whit Merrifield, who just, this format's not as good for both of those guys. So it was pretty easy to get Springer there. He was my top player, left by a pretty healthy margin. Maybe not for everybody, but for me, George Springer and his 250 combined runs and RBI are a lovely number 28 overall pick. Yeah.
Yep, 28th overall. And then the next pick there is Lucas Giolito. All right. We'll see what happens here with our buddy Ashley. And let's write in the chat, see how Ashley's doing.
Ashley does not appear to be in the room at the moment.
All right. I'm only going to do this one more time, and then I think we just got to let it play out because obviously we are drafting, we are potting. There's a lot going on. So we need this thing to keep rolling along here. So
yes.
All right. Again, Scott, 2 starting pitchers. I went with Ohtani and Sandy Alcantara. Chris, balanced approach so far as well. Garrett Cole and George Springer.
So I don't know what to anticipate. Like, I hate picking at the end just in general because it's so hard to predict what's going to make it back to you after those back-to-back picks. But especially in a league with bizarre scoring like this, and especially a 16-teamer, just
you just got to get your guys
large. I thought about. When I logged in before we started recording, I told Frank I might take Salvador Perez at the 1-2 turn. And then he reminded me it's an OBP league instead of batting average. And I thought, I can't do that then. OBP is kind of a problem for Salvi.
And there it goes, Scott. Salvador Perez, 30th overall.
But it kind of what Chris was saying, like he's still like, even in an OBP league, the advantage he gives you at that position in a format where there aren't many hitter spots to be filled. I think it's perfectly reasonable where he was taken here toward the end of round 2, about 30th overall. Even understanding that he's going to be a net negative, pretty sharp net negative in an OBP league with the OBP specifically,
and not relative to other catchers. Yeah, there aren't many catchers who
more at bats, so
sure
that OBP is going to hurt even more than.
Although that's less relevant in in a day or a weekly categories league than a true roto.
316 was his OBP last year.
Yeah, it's bad.
All right, let's see. Let's catch people up. A few other picks here. Matt Olson went, and then Starling Marte to finish out round 2. The first pick of round 3 is Robbie Ray. And Robbie Ray, again, was tied for second in terms of quality starts last season with Sandy Alcantara behind only Walker Buehler, as I mentioned earlier. So we'll see if Robbie Ray can keep it going this season with the Seattle Mariners now. And
a lot of strikeouts, hopefully.
Yes, lots of strikeouts regardless. I like this team name here. I'm with you, Scott. I wonder if they actually are with you. I think they are, because they just went dual Atlanta Braves, Matt Olson and Austin Riley.
Austin Riley was somebody I was kind of hoping to get in round 3, but not even close.
Not even close.
Even close. We got like 14 picks to go.
And
but he's been sliding, I feel like. I don't know if it's because of Chris Bryant and the recognition that Bobby Witt's gonna gain third base eligibility. I feel like maybe there's been less people feel like they have to reach less for Riley than they were in the earlier drafts.
I think that makes sense too, right? Like, just strategically, I know, Scott, a big reason why you were drafting Austin Riley in a lot of our early drafts is because third base was, as thin of a position as it was at the time. And obviously it got a lot better with, Chris Bryant moving over to Colorado. He's now, basically a consensus top 60 pick. And then Bobby Witt has made the Kansas City Royals opening day roster, something we heard over the weekend from John Heyman, but it was confirmed on Tuesday. So he will be in the lineup on opening day and likely to play third base. You need 5 games at a position on CBS to earn eligibility. So Bobby Witt will get third base eligibility pretty early in the season.
Chris had a pained sigh just then. I think his boy
hurt.
Byron, right before your pick.
Yeah, American League MVP Byron Buxton. Gosh, that would have been a really nice start for me.
Didn't Byron Buxton hit another homer on Tuesday?
Yeah, he's
just crushing it, absolutely crushing it. Him and his, well, I guess it's even higher now, right? He's probably got like a 1700 OPS.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
pretty good. You would have had your top 2 AL MVP candidates, Chris. Byron Buxton.
Yep. It would have been pretty cool to have gotten that as a start, but that's disappointing. I'm gonna go a little bit weird here, but I'm just gonna do it because I don't have him yet.
Whoa!
I'm taking Justin Verlander, pushing him way up the board. Taking Justin Verlander, 16-team league. Even when you're not picking on the edges in this format, like there's no way Justin Verlander is going to be there the next time I pick. I didn't think anyway. The way that things have been going and the people that we're drafting with, I would imagine Scott was thinking about taking him at the next turn.
Well, I already got 2 starting pitchers, but I'm glad I do because people like Justin Verlander are going in round 3. So I'm not I'm not sure I'm going to like what's available at starting pitcher when it gets back to me.
Yeah, just throw ADP out the window because Carlos Rodon just went 40th overall as well. So after Buxton, Chris selected Justin Verlander, Teoscar Hernandez, Aaron Nola, and then, as I just mentioned, Carlos Rodon goes 40th overall. And there are 2 picks before I am up. I've got Shohei Ohtani and my man Sandy Alcantara, and Sandy. Marcus Semien goes, what would I like to do here? One pick just went, and I've got a few things in mind. Okay, Xander Bogaerts goes. Okay. Looking at that.
Good OBP guy. Xander.
I mean, the thing about where we are in the draft schedule, 2 days before the season starts, and the fact this is a listeners league and the fact that this is a weird format, it's like, really, you should just throw ADP out the window.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, let's just do it. Let's throw ADP out.
Baby.
So Xander Bogaerts goes, and then I selected Charlie Morton. It's happening. This is my starting pitcher strategy. If I can walk away from a draft with Sandy Alcantara and Charlie Morton, I am a happy man. So especially taking an elite hitter like Shohei Ohtani, I feel better about maybe doubling down on pitcher after that, and then I'll jump back into hitter somewhere in the middle parts of this draft. After Charlie Morton goes, Kevin Gausman is off the board. Scott, I bet you feel pretty good that you went with 2 starting pitchers because they are all gone.
I wasn't expecting it to play out this way, but yes, I like the hitters who are left a lot more than the pitchers. If I had not taken a pitcher there, and assuming that wouldn't, maybe me not taking 2 pitchers there would have prevented somebody else from taking one of these pitchers. We don't really know how it would have played out, but yeah, my ace would have been something like Max Fried or Logan Webb if I was waiting to take a pitcher now. So pretty pleased with that choice.
And it would not have been Max Fried because Max Fried just went 46 overall. Just before him, Nick Castellanos. Nick Castellanos, by the way, was a top 20 player in Roto last season. I guess it was just that his ADP was much lower most of the offseason because he was a free agent and we didn't know where he was going to play. But I feel like as a result, his ADP never got to where it needed to be now that he signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. So for anyone who's drafting these last couple of days, if you're getting Nick Castellanos outside of the top 40, I think it's a really good value. After Max Fried goes, Joe Musgrove. And Scott, you are on the clock for 2. I have to imagine that you're looking at a few hitters here.
Yes, I am. I am looking at a few hitters. One of the hitters I will be taking this evening is Pete Alonso. Want a lot of power, like I've said.
Nice.
With my hitter spots, and I think he should provide it. Now, with the second pick...
Thought about him with my pick, Scott.
I'm going to go with a guy who offers a little versatility, which might be handy in a league where only 9 lineup spots are filled, and hopefully will provide some power in his new environment, and happens to play a scarce position.
Oh,
double checking here, making sure it's who I want. Yes, it is. I will go Chris Bryant. My first share of Chris Bryant this year.
That's fun.
Exciting.
That is fun. Yeah. Those are 2 names that I was looking at when I was considering hitters with my pick, but I wanted to get some pretty safe starting pitchers, and obviously we love Charlie Morton, but yeah, I think 2. You can really ask for much more than that, Scott. If you were going with two pitchers to start your draft. To get those hitters on the way back, Pete Alonso and Chris Bryant to pair with Brandon Woodruff and Max Scherzer.
Mm-hmm. Now, this may be a league where I don't really care about stolen bases. It's like I was saying with Kyle Tucker the last time I picked. You can piece together a lineup with a bunch of 12, 15 steal guys in a Roto league and finish in the middle of the pack, and it's worth doing. But in a league with only a 9-man lineup where things are being scored only a week at a time, unless you're getting really high impact base stealers, it's just probably not a category worth pursuing.
Mm-hmm. All right. After your Chris Bryant pick, Logan Webb, which I think makes a lot of sense if he's healthy and he's good to go. He went very deep into his starts last season, especially down the stretch. That final 14 start stretch, I believe he had quality starts in either 11 or 12 of those. He was amazing. So Logan Webb, I think someone that will fit very well in a league with quality starts.
Now, we're 50 picks in. Correct me if I'm wrong. No Josh Hader, no Liam Hendricks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're 50 picks in. We're definitely seeing the effect of going saves plus holds instead of just saves there, because this being a 16-team league, we see a lot of those 15-team roto leagues, and those guys might go in round 2. They might go within the first 30 picks, which is, we've all said, was ridiculous. But even after 50, they're not gone here.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. And I think it's fair, Scott. I think that relievers should be devalued. It almost flattens the position out, because at this point, you're just drafting for skills, which honestly, that's how it should be for fantasy. Like, I understand the chase for saves. It's kind of fun. Sometimes it's kind of annoying, but
yeah,
Chris, what I like about this is that you can just draft the best relievers. You could just draft the best ratios, the best strikeouts. And if those are the best relievers on the best teams, then in theory, they're just going to wind up with saves and holds.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the save plus hold leaders from last year.
Now it is worth pointing out that somebody like Josh Hader might get 35 saves, and the holds leader, or at least I think maybe somebody had quite a bit more than 20 holds last year, but it was just one outlier, and most of the leaders were like right at 20 or so.
Yeah.
So it's holds and saves it's not a 1-to-1 ratio there. You can't just say, I'm going to pass up this saves guy for this holds guy because he has better ratios or whatever. You have to think about what the actual total number is going to be. But yeah, I mean, I agree that closers should fall, and that I have always feared in a format like this, saves plus holds, that it would go too far toward flattening the relief pitcher and basically devalue everybody. And I don't know that this draft should have the final say in that, but if I could see that happening, and the fact that those two high-end guys haven't gone yet, we're trending that direction.
You also have to take into account that it's people who listen to us and who have listened to us say that those guys shouldn't go as high as they have. Sure. So, there's part of that. That's always a factor when we're talking about these, listener leagues, is that, they're going to be influenced by us, and they're going to draft, closer to the way that we think is ideal. And for us, that means devaluing those high-end closers. But I think that is also a reflection of the draft as well, like the format as well.
Sure.
All right. After Logan Webb went, Trevor Story was the other one. So I was considering 3 hitters in the third round. It was Trevor Story, it was Pete Alonso, it was Chris Bryant. Scott, you selected 2 of those hitters. Trevor Story goes, and then after that, Nolan Arenado, Frankie Montas. I'm up at pick 54. I selected Paul Goldschmidt, someone I consider to be in the same tier as a Pete Alonso, Matt Olson. Doesn't do it the same way, not as much power, but I do think will provide very good batting average. In this case, OBP. He'll chip in a few steals, 6 to 8, something like that. And I think the counting stat should be very good for Paul Goldschmidt. After that, Dylan Cease and Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta is interesting because while the strikeouts are great, I think he'll have a strong ERA and WHIP. Scott, I just don't know how deep Freddie Peralta will consistently go into his starts. Now, he broke out last year, so maybe, he's already created that foundation and he can, go a little bit deeper this year. But that's not necessarily what we saw from Freddie Peralta last season.
Before I answer that question, somebody just auto-picked Dominic Smith, which I think probably was not what they intended to do in round 4.
Okay.
So we'll check on them. We'll check on them while I'm talking about, what was it you asked me about? Oh, Freddie Peralta going deep into starts.
Yeah, Freddie Peralta in a quality start league.
Yeah, so his innings were limited last year. Obviously, he got to only 144 and a third. But the way they went about limiting his innings is they pretty much let him go for the first 2/3 of the season and then really pulled back for the final third. So there were more 6+ inning starts than you would think. And obviously he's going to be allowed to go even more innings this year, provided he stays healthy.
And it's not a situation where like it's hard to see him going 6 innings. If he can physically do it, there's no reason his skill set shouldn't work over 6 innings now. This isn't the same guy he was coming into last season when he was really just, a 2-pitch guy. He's got, 4 really good pitches now, one of the best fastballs in the game, which is what he relied on pretty heavily before this season. But now he's got that curveball and that changeup to go with the slider and fastball combination, and it makes Freddie Peralta someone who, in theory, should be able to go through lineups as often as he needs to, as often as he physically can. Hopefully, at least.
He went 6+ innings 11 times through July. Just through July, he went 6+ innings 11 times in 20 appearances. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Look, if he's as good of a pitcher as he showed last year, and I think in general as good as we expect him to be, then he should be more efficient and he should be able to get quality starts. It's just a matter of him continuing to build up that innings total that we saw last season from him. And of course, I love drafting Brewers pitchers this year. I've talked about this a lot. I like targeting Cardinals pitchers for that reason. Going up against the Cubs, the Pirates, and the Cincinnati Reds, it's just a fantastic division to pitch in. All right. We are having some technical difficulties. If anyone is watching this draft and you are part of this draft, we got to keep this moving here. We're in round 4 and we're like 36 minutes into the draft. So
I'll explain what happened with me having to restart the clock.
Okay.
I was searching for Liam Hendriks. I'm going to be the one to draft him. And I ran out of time before I could correctly spell his name in the search.
You're putting a C in there between the I and the K?
Well, I thought I did the IKS ending first, and it didn't come up, so I had to try it again. And
it's like when you're typing in your password, and you just see the asterisks, and you're like, "Oh, it must not be that password." But you don't know if you guess the wrong password of the many you use, or if you just mistyped it. So it's not. I like how most of them have that button now to show password as you type it in. That's been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't reveal this. I don't know if you guys do this, but I just have like a running notepad on my phone that's just filled with my passwords. So
it's on your phone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you had like a notepad. That would be fun.
No. The notepad is just for for the baseball notes, Chris. You know that, but I have a notepad just filled with passwords because I don't know. There's just so many of them nowadays. After Freddie Peralta went, we saw Yu Darvish, then Wander Franco, Jose Altuve. Chris selected Liam Hendriks, the first reliever off the board. That is 60th overall in a saves plus holds league. Then Whit Merrifield, Clayton Kershaw, and Josh Hader. All right, Chris. So you got the ball rolling.
Yeah, no surprise Hader goes off right after Hendricks. That's whichever one went first. That would be the way that it would go.
Mm-hmm. And I have our league settings punched into the auction calculator on Fangraphs using ATC projections from our buddy Ariel Cohen. And Liam Hendriks and Josh Hader, they should go around here based on their projected dollar amounts. So this is about the right range, right around 60th overall for those two in a saves plus hold leagues. All right. The Whit Merrifield win. I mentioned Clayton Kershaw, Josh Hader. Ketel Marte is the next pick off the board there. Yeah, not someone who necessarily walks too much, but if he hits for the high batting average, as we expect, in turn, the OBP should be perfectly fine for one Ketel Marte. And we are into round 5. Before we continue on with round 5, if you are listening to us on the podcast side, as we've done with all of our other live drafts, this will be broken into a 2-part podcast. So after you get done listening to part 1 here, you can hop into round 2 and you can listen to the second half, or I don't know. It's probably going to
be a 3-hour draft.
Yeah, it's probably going to be much longer than just a 2-part, 2-hour type podcast. But hey, 16 teams, 22 round draft. It's going to take quite some time here. All right.
So I was kind of surprised Jose Barrios was falling. Like he went behind Clayton Kershaw. He just went off the board, 66th overall, second pick of round 5. After Clayton Kershaw had already gone, Yu Darvish, Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease is, maybe he takes a big step forward this year, but question how often he's going to be in line for, going to be allowed to get a quality start. But somebody like Barrios, that's not a question at all. I mean, that guy goes very deep into starts very consistently. That's kind of his main value. And so I think it plays up in a format like this.
Yeah, it's one of his, I would say, best strengths. It's, I don't want to call him middling because he's better than middling. He's, we all have him ranked as a top 25 starting pitcher, but he doesn't necessarily stand out. But a solid ERA, solid whip, just around a strikeout per inning. But where he really helps, again, is with volume and consistently going deep into starts. After Jose Barrios, Corey Seager, Will Smith. Will Smith, who I think is a very, very strong pick, especially in an OBP league. He walks quite a bit, hitting in the middle of that Dodgers lineup. And Chris, you are on the board. You are up here around 5, 69th overall. Nice. Let's take a look at your team. See what we've got going on.
A very un-Chris Towers start so far.
You've got 3 pitchers and 1 hitter. Your 1 hitter is George Springer. The pitchers, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Liam Hendricks. What do we do next?
That's the question, isn't it? It's a tough spot, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But since I didn't get Will Smith...
Auto. Darn it.
I didn't think there was any way Yasmani Grandal was going to get back to me. He is an OBP stud, and I think gives you as much of an edge as Will Smith in this format and deserves to be drafted in the same range as Will Smith. So I'll just go ahead and take him right after Will Smith.
For this format, you're probably right. I've given the stat before for Mitch Garver that he had the 3rd best OPS among catchers last year. And the 2 I always say were ahead of him were Yasmani Grandal and Buster Posey, who's retired now. So Yasmani Grandal had a higher OPS than Salvador Perez last year. And most of it's because of the OBP. He had a 420 OBP. Now, normally he's more like, 370, 380. Last year was a little, it was the best year of his career. But he walks a lot, that's for sure.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, the quality of contact metrics for him were almost as impressive as Salvador Perez. I mean, he was 90th, 95th percentile in hard hit rate, average exit velocity, etc. So, he really did. I mean, it was probably a career year, but he was also just playing at a ridiculously high level.
Yeah. No, Grandal is someone who I love targeting, especially in head-to-head points leagues or any type of OBP format. I considered him with my last pick when I took Paul Goldschmidt. So I was really hoping he would make it back. Great pick there by you, Chris. After Grandal, Jose Abreu, Kenley Jansen, Francisco Lindor will not be on my team. He goes 72nd overall. And then Christian Yelich.
Good
and
pick.
I am on deck in round 5. I've got 2 hitters and 2 pitchers thus far. Brandon Lau just went off the board. I've got Paul Goldschmidt, Shohei Ohtani, Sandy Alcantara, and Charlie Morton. And
I actually really wanted Brandon Lau.
Yeah, he walks quite a bit. Yeah.
I didn't want to take, so I had Yelich was one of 3 outfielders who's just clearly at the top of the queue for me. And I didn't want to take another one since there were 3 of them. And I already have Springer as my only hitter. So that's why I took Grandal, but it would have been Lau if it wasn't Grandal. Shouts to the Tampa Bay Rays social media for their helpful visualization on how to pronounce Brandon Lau versus Josh Lowe, by the
way. What did they put out?
Oh, it was just a pronunciation guide. But it was helpful. Just a nice reminder. We're gonna have to keep that in mind.
All right.
It's a good thing they don't have Nate Lowe anymore.
So I believe Nate Lowe and Josh Lowe are actually brothers.
Yep, they are.
Oh.
Yes. So kind of awkward because they trade one brother away and they still have one, and they have another player with the same name, but it's pronounced differently, and those guys are not related. So it's kind of interesting. But yes, we'll. I have a feeling Josh Lowe will be drafted at some point in this draft. Not yet, but we'll see. I selected Eloy Jimenez, somebody I do like quite a bit. I think we haven't seen the best yet. I think it's coming. He's having a strong spring as well. I think that we could just get this monster power season out of Eloy where he hits something like 280, 35 plus home runs. Doesn't walk too much. I would have taken Lindor if he made it to me here. He's who I was looking at, Grandal as well. So I'll settle for Eloy. I didn't have an outfielder yet.
I think the thing with Eloy is you're hoping he becomes like a Jose Abreu type.
Right.
Not going to walk a lot, but hopefully will make decent contact for a power hitter and just drive in a ton of runs and hit for power with a good batting average.
That's the hope, right? Well, I think with any players in this mold, Chris, is if they break out and they hit for as high of a batting average as I think they can, then even if they don't walk much, the OBP should still be passable. So that's the hope for Eloy Jimenez. After he went, Raisel Iglesias, another reliever off the board. Shane O'Mac. Shane McClanahan goes 77th overall.
Here comes the money.
I got you, Scotty.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
Alex Bregman, which makes a lot of sense here in OBP, and then Emmanuel Clase. And Scott, you are on the clock. You suspended the draft. How dare you?
Suspend it? No, I did.
I did. Can we get this guy to take Dom Smith out of his queue?
Why?
He's taken Dom Smith twice in a row now. Are we going to leave Dom Smith in the 6th or 5th round? We're going against him. So if he wants to leave Dom Smith in the 5th round, that's fine. But
did he? I don't see.
I'm not seeing Dom Smith. What pick number?
Okay. I guess I don't know. It was wrong. Sorry. I apologize. That was on me.
Well, look, if someone wants to support
that was my bad. Maybe, my penalty is I should have to take Dom Smith with my next pick.
Yeah, we might have to.
Right.
For the people. You're going to have to do it for the people, Chris. All right, Scott.
All right, I'm going to do a couple weird things here. You ready?
Yes.
A couple weird things. I'm a little stressed about it, but I'm going to do it. I don't like the state of second base right now.
No.
That's why I was upset about the Brandon Lau pick. I feel like getting that impact power bat that I'm trying to get almost everywhere is there's one option left. And he just so happens to be better in an OBP league than a batting average league. Now I'm a little scared of him because he got a messed up elbow. But I'm going to take Max Muncy.
Ooh.
I'm going to take Max Muncy.
All right.
And then the other one is a player that I've said is uniquely valuable in a head-to-head categories format because I've talked about the steals impact and like you need to get you need to have a guy who you can trust to get a ton of steals in a week-long time frame to be worth the pick. And that's why
gonna wreck his OBP.
Adalberto Mondesi is who I'm taking here. For however long he's healthy, he should single-handedly win me steals for however many weeks he's healthy. And I'm willing to take the OBP hit for that, especially since I got a good OBP base already. And actually, I mentioned Chris Bryant's versatility when I took him in anticipation of hopefully getting a shot at Mondesi later, who, of course, himself will become eligible as shortstop in due time. But, I'm not punting steals after all. This is my one hope for them. And if I'll just lose for whatever weeks he's not healthy, I'll just lose. But I'm happy I'd rather do that than to try and chase steals with a bunch of guys who aren't going to give me that many.
The chat loves it, Scott. They are in the rest of the league. You got an ellipsis, and then thanks, Scott. So I think they were upset that you drafted Adalberto Mondesi. That was a good turn. All caps. We love Scott. Mondesi will be really good for the first 5 weeks. I wanted starting Marte and Adalberto Mondesi.
That's the kind of comment I expect more. Mondesi will be really good for the. You know what? I drafted him in this format last year too, and he was hardly healthy at all. But those weeks he was healthy, he won me steals.
Yeah,
probably helped a lot in the championship.
I think it's
I think he did. Yeah.
I think it's a really good combination with Max Muncy too, for obvious reasons. I mean, since
the 10 weeks you get out of the both of them combined.
I really am worried about Muncy's elbow. He's had a horrible spring. I'm not sure he really has all the strength and flexibility he needs in it. But I'm crossing my fingers that everything the Dodgers have been saying about the elbow is true and that it's just a fluky spring stat line that I'm reading too much into.
All right. Since Max Muncy joined the Dodgers, by the way, in 2018, he has a 15% walk rate and a 371 OBP. All right, picks are flying here. After Mondesi went Brian Reynolds, Chris Bassett, Adam Wainwright, another one who does get quite the boost in a quality start league, Edwin Diaz with the New York Mets, and I am going to select When Scott was talking about second base, I was a little bit worried that he was going to take this gentleman. Let me check out my team. Again, I've got Goldschmidt, Eloy, Otani, Morton, Sandy. Let's just check in on starting pitcher and see where we're at there. It's dwindling a little bit. I don't want to jump back in yet. So I am going to select Jorge Polanco, who I think the power will take a little bit of a step back, but someone that just helps you across the board, walks a decent amount as well. I think the Twins are going to have a sneaky good lineup this year too. So I drafted more Jorge Polanco than I expected coming into the draft season. He just seems a little bit too undervalued. Before we get to the other picks, got to remind everyone that a week unlike any other is finally here. The Masters returns to Augusta National, where Hideki Matsuyama will defend his green jacket. Go join the First Cut Golf podcast, where the entire crew is previewing this year's tournament. From storylines to picks and even daily fantasy advice, the First Cut has you covered. The First Cut Golf podcast is available wherever you're listening to this podcast. And some big news on Tuesday. It sounds like Tiger Woods is going to give it a go in the Masters. So some fun there as well. After Jorge Polanco, Ryan Presley and Trevor Rogers. Where are you at, Chris? You are up in about 3 picks. Trevor Rogers, it seems like there's
his velocity was down pretty significantly today in his start. It was weird because he like piggybacked. Eliezer Hernandez started and got hit by a comebacker, and then 2 relievers pitched, and then Trevor Rogers pitched. But his velocity was down quite a bit. His max fastball velo was actually lower today than his average was last season. So hopefully that was just a one-start thing. It wasn't like that his first 2 spring starts, so it doesn't look like it's an ongoing issue, which is a good thing. But just something to keep in mind. It was a little worrisome to see that from Trevor Rogers. That being said, it's not like I was avoiding him in this draft if it had come to it.
Mm-hmm. All right. I mentioned Ryan Presley, Trevor Rogers, Kyle Schwarber, the Beefcake, the Wandering Eye for one, Scott White. Kyle Schwarber, by the way, I did a hit on CBS Sports HQ on Tuesday, and we were doing some season-long player props. I think Kyle Schwarber, there's some value in betting him to lead baseball in home runs. So if you want to throw a little sprinkle on that, I'm interested in Kyle Schwarber. After that, Framber Valdez. In a quality start league, great pick.
Don't go after the player I love. Interested in Kyle Schwarber, Frank. Dim's fighting words, okay?
I like
really upset that Bobby Witt just got taken. I was sniped yet again. Coming both ways now.
Oh my goodness.
Let's check in on that team, Chris. Where I never know your team name. What does this one mean? In the Arenado?
In the Arenado over the sea. It's a reference to the Neutral Milk Hotel album, In the Air Over the Sea. One of my favorite albums. Weird album. Weird stuff. All right. I'll do this.
And he did it. Giancarlo Stanton. All right. I mean, this is a very Chris Towers-esque team, I feel like. Grandal, Giancarlo Stanton, George Springer, and then Justin Verlander, Liam Hendricks, Garrett Cole. Chris, given your first 3 picks, is it fair to say that you will be punting steals?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. But that'll be the only category I'm punting in this format, so I don't think it's that big of a concern.
I wanted to punt steals, as I mentioned, coming into this draft, especially in a league where it's net steals. I mean, that total is going to be even lower than we're used to seeing just a normal steals category. So I wanted to punt it, but I couldn't pass on Shohei Ohtani.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I was willing to take Byron Buxton with my 3rd pick. He got taken 1 pick before me. I wanted to take Bobby Witt with my 6th pick. He got taken 1 pick before me. So it's not that I'm opposed to having stolen bases on my team. It just didn't work out with this, draft.
All right. After Giancarlo Stanton, JD Martinez. It's a strong pick. I was thinking about it. Fernando Tatis. We have 4 IL spots in this league. Likely going to miss the first 2.5 months at least. We're hoping for like a mid-June, maybe late June return for Fernando Tatis. JT Realmuto. I mean, this is late too. I mean, 95th overall, round 6 of a 16-team league. I think that's pretty good value for JT Realmuto. Scott, talk to me about Fernando Tatis. He was someone we were all considering in our previous listener league draft, the one we did last week. That's a head-to-head points league. It's much shallower. In a league like this, the replacement value not nearly as good. Do you still think he should be worth a top 100 pick here?
Yeah, I think so. He was somebody I considered when I went with that Muncie and Mondesi turn. But you're right. It's harder to justify in a 16-team league because there are only 9 hitter spots filled by each team. I still think the replacement value will be acceptable enough to take him here in the hopes that he has an early June return. If it ends up being late June, then that's gonna, that might tip the scales against it. But the impact's going to be so big. So if you can hang in there for 2 months without Tatis, it could be the pick that wins you the league once he does return.
All right. After Real Muto, Jonathan India to finish out round 6, and then Alek Manoah and Tyler O'Neill. Scott, I'll go right back to you. When you were talking about making your pick and you were breaking down second base and how it's kind of dwindling a little bit, you don't normally draft this guy. I thought you were going to take Jonathan India, actually.
No, I want a power.
Okay.
There were a number of decent second basemen who might be 20 homer guys like India, or you look further down, Jake Cronenworth, Chris Taylor. I just feel like this format specifically, it's not a points league where you get all those extra bonuses from those smaller contributions, doubles and the like. It's not a roto league where you have those very large hitter lineups to help you balance out categories. You have 9 spots to do as well as you can across the hitter categories. And so more than anything, I want power in my lineup spots. And Jonathan India, good OBP guy, will provide some steals, but it's just not the sort of big impact week to week that I'm looking for in this format.
All right. After Alek Manoah, Tyler O'Neill, Aroldis Chapman off the board. Chris, you are on deck here, and now you're on the clock. Craig Kimbrell. So traded over to the Los Angeles Dodgers. We mentioned he's inside each of our top 10 relief pitcher ranks now. I think this range makes sense to select him. What are you thinking here, Chris?
This is where being outfield heavy is difficult because my top player is an outfielder. I may be able to just wait. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm going to take Joey Votto here, 101 overall, and hope one of my top 2 players is still there next time around, which is risky because there are 20 picks between my next 2 picks.
All right. The profit pocket has begun. Joey Votto, of course, someone who excels still in OBP.
I was looking for Julio Rodriguez to go right there after Joey Votto. It's about, so 107 overall. That's about right exactly where I've moved him in my rankings, just about a round after Bobby Witt, which I think, as we've discussed in recent days, is appropriate.
Same.
Yep. I did a huge overhaul on the rankings the past 2 days, and I have moved Julio Rodriguez up to 100th overall. Scott has him at 99.
Oh, I'm higher than I thought.
And Chris has him at 108. So yeah, inside the top 110 for each of us on Julio Rodriguez, who will be on the opening day roster for the Seattle Mariners. After Julio Rodriguez went Mitch Haniger, Anthony Rendon, and Randy Arozarena. I am on deck. And
who is worth noting, not as bad of an OBP guy as you might think, or at least he wasn't last year. Obviously, if he hits 230 like we're worried he might, then the OBP is going to be a problem. But he had 360 OBP last year.
All right. After Randy, Marcell Ozuna goes. When Ozuna's at his best, he's someone who walks quite a bit as well. And he's been rising up draft boards, rising up the rankings, rightfully so. We'll be with the Atlanta Braves on opening day. All right. I've got a few different things I need to look at here. Third base, we've kind of made it to the, not entirely the wasteland, but we're getting close. We're getting close to the wasteland. Do I have a shortstop? No, I don't. All right. This is starting to dwindle a little bit as well. I've got 20 seconds. What would I like to do?
Sweating over here. I see it. I see a bead of sweat dripping down his forehead. He's
all right.
not
I
wearing
don't
a
have
hat for
I don't have a share of him yet, and
Okay.
I
I
want
had him in my queue.
I've wanted to get Seiya Suzuki with the Chicago Cubs, Japanese phenom who came over this season, and it's been a mixed bag so far in the spring, which I think makes sense. There's going to be a bit of a transition period for him. I think there could be some issues with strikeouts, but he walked a lot over in Japan and could provide power, a little bit of speed as well. So I'm happy to select him as my second outfielder to go along with Eloy Jimenez. Scott, I was also considering Carlos Correa.
I know. I was glad you didn't take him.
Yeah, because
going anyway.
Shortstop is dwindling here. Let's catch people up. After Seiya Suzuki, Jordan Romano, someone I was also looking at, and then Blake Snell, Carlos Correa, and Akil Baddoo. Akil Baddoo, who's going to go 30-30 this season, according to my bold predictions. And Scott, you are on the clock. Let's check in and see what you got going on. So you've got Pete Alonso, Max Muncy, Adalberto Mondesi, Chris Bryant. Those are your four hitters. And then, of course, you started with the two aces, Max Scherzer and Brandon Woodruff.
Yeah, so I'm thinking about coming back here with my third starting pitcher. I'm running out of time. I better stop thinking. I don't have shortstop filled either. I mean, Adalberto Mondesi could move over there eventually. But and I know he's not a great OBP guy, but he is a big power guy. And he's dual eligible. I'm going to go ahead and take Javier Baez and keep my infield deep and versatile, because after Baez, I didn't really like what was available. CJ Abrams is down there, I guess, but we got to wait until we get to him, I suppose. And then for my second pick, for my next
guy,
pick,
you might want to just punt OBP from now on.
No, I'm doing okay. I got Muncy, I got Bryant, I got Alonso. They should be fine. I'm going to go. Well, you think about it. In a week's time, OBP is pretty random. So I'm not really sweating it that much.
That's true.
I'm going to go Varsho. I'm going to go Dalton Varsho. I didn't like not getting Salvador Perez in a league with only 9 lineup spots. I think it's more important to have an actual impactful catcher. And I don't think, we've talked about Varsho as a steal source at catcher. He is, but it's not going to be like a ton of steals. It's not going to be a ton of home runs. But I think just in the runs and RBI relative to the average catcher in a league like this, he's gonna put me ahead. So thought about going starting pitcher, but Varsho's the pick.
All right. So again, Scott's 2 picks there, Javier Baez and Dalton Varsho. We are into round 8 now. And what I'm going to do is sign off of hour 1 here on the podcast, and we'll be back with hour 2. We will see you then. Bye-bye. All right, we are into hour 2 of our For the People League, 16-team head-to-head categories. We're in round 8, so I think this one's going to go quite some time here. And it seems like you start a little bit of a catcher run here, Scott. So you take Dalton Varsho, and then Mitch Haniger goes off the board. We only do start 1 catcher, thankfully. Imagine we started 2 catchers in a 16-team league. Every major league starting catcher is rostered. Oh, my.
Probably some backups. Probably get like Yan Gomes in there teaming up with Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras, I don't think it's gone yet, right?
Whoa. No name dropping. Come on.
Sorry. My bad.
That's all right.
There are 15-team only leagues where you start 2 catchers. Some people like that. I don't want to shame anyone for what they're into.
I think at that point, Chris, don't you just try to find like just a catcher tandem that you like at that point? If you play in a league that deep, just kind of ride with both.
I would try to find a different league personally. But that's
I love how you just said don't disparage those people, and you said you would find a different league.
Yeah, oh, wow. I would find a different league.
So we got a guy with a look at my team comment. He's his first 7 picks were his 7 pitchers.
Oh wow!
And he just took his first hitter, Rhys Hoskins.
Okay, I'm gonna get to the team in just a second. I've got to make my pick here, and I'm struggling a little bit because
Honestly, even though I have first base filled, I was strongly considering taking Rhys Hoskins with my next pick.
Oh, he just walks so much.
Yep.
All right. Shortstop is dwindling. I'm going to go ahead and select Willie Adames. I regret not taking Carlos Correa a little bit with my last pick, but I was between a few players there. You know, I think in hindsight, the Seiya Suzuki pick was probably...
Maybe you got a little cute.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary. Yeah, probably got a little too cute with that pick, but we'll see how it turns out. So far, I've got Goldschmidt, Jorge Polanco, Willie Adames, Eloy Jimenez, Seiya Suzuki, Otani, and then 2 pitchers, Charlie Morton and Sandy Alcantara. All right, let's see. Whose team is that?
Andrew
Skalicki.
There you go.
Let's take a look at that team. And pulling it up. All right. And okay, the pitching staff. Let's run through this here. Kevin Gausman, Frankie Montas, Edwin Diaz, Raisel Iglesias, Walker Buehler, Shane Bieber, Jordan Romano. It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, you've got 4 top 25 starting pitchers, and then you have 3 top 10 relievers. And your first hitter is Rhys Hoskins. So this is a team we will come back to later on in the draft, and we'll see how this lineup, how this offense comes together here.
I mean, in theory, he should win. Like, even if some of those pitchers have a bad year, a worse year than we're expecting, in theory, he should be in great position to win quality starts, saves plus holds, and strikeouts every week. And then ERA and WHIP, I mean, there's only so much control you have over that. So he's going to lose those categories sometimes, but those other 3, he should have and then of course he'll win ERA and WHIP his fair share as well. So it's just a matter of what the hitting ends up looking like. Obviously, Rhys Hoskins is a fine choice in an OBP league like this, but he's got 8 other spots to fill. So we'll see how it goes. Be interesting to watch.
Oh yes, and all right, Wilson Contreras finally goes off the board as well. Pick 123. I am the only one out of us 3 here that does not have a catcher. Chris, that is a great pick, man. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So
I mean, look, I took my third. That was my third outfielder. I took Joey Gallo, 124th overall, and I had been considering him for 3 rounds. It was mostly just, this is the thing about this format when we have to throw ADP out the window is, like, how do you handle a guy like that? Because I think Joey Gallo is probably a top 60, if not top 50 hitter in an OBP league.
2, 4, 6.
So how do I handle that when he falls 60 spots from where I think he should go? Could I have risked letting him go another 8 picks? Maybe. Doesn't seem like I could have let him go another round after that. Frank wanted him.
No, you should have taken him. I forgot to elevate him for this draft, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So I did have the misfortune of having him in this league in 2020, which was the year he had the 300 on base percentage.
Yeah.
Did not enjoy that experience so much. It may have poisoned me against Joey Gallo.
389 in 2019. He's not going to do that again, but 351 last year with 38 homers, 90 runs, 77 RBI, even 6 steals. That's really good.
Yep. I should have taken him over, say, Suzuki. 100%. That is, I messed up there. In this format, OBP, I mentioned I got the projections pulled up. He is projected as a top 10 outfielder, top 10 in OBP leagues. Better than Teoscar Hernandez, better than Luis Robert, better than Chris Bryant in this format. Now, you have to agree with those projections, but man, he is Joey Gallo, someone he's a huge boost in this format. The other picks, I think I missed a few here. I selected Willie Adames earlier in the round. Then Justin Turner went. Pablo Lopez, Nathan Eovaldi, Jazz Chisholm, Wilson Contreras. Chris selected Joey Gallo, Cody Bellinger, and then Luke Voigt. And that is, no, he's not the last of the profit pocket yet, but we're getting there.
There's a couple more. CJ Crone probably loses. I'm name dropping, I know. CJ Crone. Name dropping isn't, what are we calling it? What was the term you used earlier, Frank? Wasn't name dropping. That means something else. But
I think I said name dropping, yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, and historically he has been a bad source of OBP, CJ Cron, but he actually walked a lot last year in addition to everything else. He had a 375 OBP. So that's definitely not low if he can do it again.
All right. And then Franmil Reyes goes. I believe Reyes is someone who walks a little bit less than you would expect.
Yeah, he doesn't walk that much.
He's gotten better, actually. Yeah, past 2 seasons, 10% walk rate in 2020, 9.2% last year. That's doable. 324 OBP last season, and
that'll play.
30 homers in 115 games. So, man, if he's on the field, Franmil, 35 plus home runs. He is just, I feel like he's undervalued. Typically all the util only batters are. But yeah, Franmil is one of the safest bets, I would say, for 30 or 35 homers. I wanted Matt Chapman too.
I would have taken Chapman with my next pick.
All right, well, that makes me feel a little bit better, so I wouldn't have gotten him. Jeez. Everything goes back to that Seiya Suzuki.
He benefits in an OBP league as well. Even if you don't think he's going to bounce back in a huge way, he's still a much better player in OBP.
Yep, big time. Now with the Toronto Blue Jays, you're hoping...
And I do expect a bounce back.
Yes, likewise. You're hoping 1 year further removed from the hip surgery for Matt Chapman, he can, decrease those strikeouts a little bit, hit for a little bit more batting average. Power should still be very good. Counting stats in that Blue Jays lineup, also great. And last year, I believe in the second half, he was 6th in barrel rate among qualified hitters. So showing some signs that the power was coming back. It's just the strikeouts. Matt Chapman has to improve on the strikeouts. After he goes Giovanni Gallegos and then Eddie Rosario. Scott, let's talk about Gallegos in this format. Your team name here, Lego My Gallegos. So shout out to the gent. And he is someone who saves plus holds. You don't really care what he's getting between those two. As long as he's pitching well like he has the past 3 or 4 seasons, he's going to be very valuable in this format.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't know that I have much to add to it. There are other pitchers like that. I don't know if you want me to drop the names, but Andrew Kittredge.
Yeah, got a big name dropper today. I don't know.
It's for the good of the show, Frank. For the good of the show.
That is fair.
All right.
Patrick Sandoval.
Oh my God.
The race to Sandoval. That was I was wondering who was going to wind up with him. 131st overall. That sounds about right, Chris. I think that's close to where you have him in your rankings.
That is pretty much where I would take him. I would have taken him if he had fallen to 133rd. So I'm very upset with this person.
Luis Severino is the next pick, and Chris, you are back up. Let's pull up the team. You've got Yasmani Grandal, Joey Gallo, Giancarlo Stanton, George Springer, Joey. Did I just say Gallo? I feel like Gallo and Votto names are so similar. Anyway, those are your hitters, and then you have Verlander, Liam Hendricks, and Garrett Cole. Are you looking at infield or going back to pitcher here?
Well, I'm going to go back to pitcher. I'm going to take a much less exciting player than Patrick Sandoval, but someone that I do like quite a bit. So that's Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed. Would prefer to have had Patrick Sandoval, but it's fine. It's fine. I understand. It's nothing personal.
Jeez, I'm getting crushed. All right. After Eduardo Rodriguez, Sean Manaea. These are all... I'm off by one decision basically every pick in this draft, and it's not going well.
Well, there's another pitcher you really like who's there.
Yeah, I see him. We'll see.
You don't have to take him.
I don't. I need third base. Let's see what's going on there. All right. That's not looking too hot right now. Josh Donaldson, Brian Hayes. Name dropping. But those are the best. Luis Garcia goes. Starting pitcher with the Houston Astros.
And there's Jesse Winker. I was wondering when that was going to happen. Yeah, in an OBP. So my version of Tout Wars uses OBP instead of batting average as a 15-team roto. Jesse Winker went in round 3. in that league. I believe it was before he was traded to Seattle. And I certainly wouldn't have endorsed him going in round 3. But to see him go 136th in this particular OBP league, I still think it's really, really good value.
All right. And then Josh Bell goes. So we are down to 1 in the profit pocket. Whoever needs a first baseman, step right up. He's yours. Tyler Malley is the next pick. And now it's decision time.
Now it's up to you, Frank.
Do I
What's
take
it gonna be, Frank?
Do I take that pitcher
I don't know.
that Scott is referring to?
Hmm?
Or do I go
Want
somewhere?
to name names or anything?
Yeah. I'm going to do it.
No, you don't need to do it.
I'm going to select Logan Gilbert.
I thought I could use a little reverse psychology on you.
It almost worked. He is my third starting pitcher to go along with Charlie Morton and Sandy Alcantara. Sandy. And, since that first start in spring, Logan Gilbert has looked much worse. So I probably should be transparent about that. He's been giving up some home runs. So, maybe jump the gun a little bit on Logan Gilbert. But I still do like the individual pieces, the 3 different pitches that he has. He's got to put it together. Logan Gilbert has to figure out a way to put it all together. If he does that, I think the breakout is imminent. After Logan Gilbert, Dansby Swanson, Nelson Cruz, and step right up, Mrs. Torkelson, because you've got CJ Cron.
Oh, and then another more interesting CJ went right afterward.
CJ Abrams. All right, 143rd overall. You guys can
playing a decent amount of outfield in the spring training, hasn't he?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have official news on CJ Abrams yet, right? They haven't named him to the opening day roster.
No, I mean El Paso's first game was today, I believe, and he wasn't on the roster. So
that's true. All right, so we wait on CJ Abrams, but yeah, he's bouncing around. He's playing a little shortstop, some outfield. Scott, you are on the clock here. The end of round 9.
So I was hoping to get one of Cruz or Crone, whoever made it to me, and neither of them did. And Abrams was pretty high on my list too. I'm going to fill out my outfield, I think, here with
I feel like we're
good OBP guy when he's on, and certainly power. Jorge
there's a
Soler.
guy we're overlooking amid all this other talk.
Is he an outfielder?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking we need to make an addition to the profit pocket in the final few days of the draft.
Oh, come on, Chris. We can't make it 6 people deep. That's just too much. Can we?
Maybe it should be.
I know who you're talking about.
Oh, I think I know too.
But I'm not going to take him.
I moved him way up the rankings.
Maybe I should take him. Should I take him?
I don't know.
I'm not going to take him. I'm going to take Randall Grichuk instead. So a couple outfielders here: Jorge Soler, Randall Grichuk. I got both of those new incoming Rockies, hoping the Coors Field boosts their stats. I got all but my utility spot filled here now. Only have those 2 pitchers that I took with my first 2 picks, so getting a little concerned about that.
That's the Chris Towers strategy.
Yeah, he's got the 2, and now we wait.
Yeah. You change the scoring on me, everything goes topsy-turvy.
Scott's going with Hero SP.
I like it. And then the very next pick is Jake McGee. And
that makes sense.
I guess it shouldn't matter. Again, we're doing saves plus holds here.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
regardless, I think the ratio should be pretty strong. Strikeout should be there. The Giants still projected to be one of the best teams in baseball.
I'm still not feeling a lot of urgency at relief pitcher. Maybe I'll start too soon. But
It's so hard. It's so hard to know because closers are going later, but still relatively where they should. But like we haven't seen a non-closer go yet, have we?
No, we haven't. But Scott, you would never guess this, but I'm with you. I don't really feel like drafting a relief pitcher yet. There's going to be so many later on that we're just not used to drafting that.
Well, and there are going to be ones emerging on waivers too. Who was the leader in holds last year? Luke Jackson, right?
Yeah.
I think nobody was drafting Luke Jackson last year. Come on.
I think 3 Atlanta Braves were in the top 10 or something. Like they had an absurd number of holds last year. All right, I didn't plan this, but I guess I'm going to be the homer pick in our 2 listener leagues. I'm going to wind up with Josh Donaldson on both teams. So I needed a third baseman. He's the last, I guess, the last serviceable option that's here, at least in my eyes. I mean, there's still Brian Hayes, Juan Moncada, TJ LeMahieu. It's, no one that really stands out. Donaldson has to stay healthy, of course, but the StatCast numbers were awesome last year. I think he'll still hit for power. He still walks a decent amount, so I'm fine with the pick here. I'm happy to get him. I still wish I got Matt Chapman, but alas, here we are. A couple other picks after Jake McGee went: Keibert Ruiz, Tommy Edman, Hunter Renfroe. I took Donaldson, and then Ty France was the next pick.
Have we mentioned Donaldson's? Maybe you just mentioned it, and I was staring at my rankings. He's supposed to bat leadoff for the Yankees. That's the plan.
We mentioned it on a podcast recently, but yeah, he's batting leadoff.
Ultimately, like if Donaldson stays healthy, he's going to be awesome. I don't think it really matters where he's batting, but that's a big if and not one I'm willing to bet on. Not that I'm saying it's a bad pick around 150, but just like that's why, even though the skill set and the lineup context looks great for him, it's not like Donaldson's a player I'm eager to draft.
Yep, fair enough. Put Marcus Stroman in the Sandy Alcantara discussion, that same bucket, who you worry about the wins with the Chicago Cubs, but I think if he pitches to the level we expect and we've seen, he should give you a good amount of quality starts. Brendan Rodgers goes, Jake Cronenworth. Chris, you are on the clock, and I apologize because I feel like you were making a point before about something, and I cut you off. Do you remember what you were going to say?
No, I don't remember.
All right. All right, then. Let's check in on our buddy Andrew Skalicki here and see how the offense is coming along. Since he, I think I clicked on the wrong team. Sure did. All right, so again, he used his first 7 picks on pitchers, and then Rhys Hoskins was his first hitter, then Dansby Swanson and Hunter Renfroe. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you just gobble up all the, whatever stands out as a value in terms of a hitter. I mean, that is likely the player that you're selecting. So,
yeah, if you're taking a hitter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you got 7 pitchers, Scott, I think he's probably taking a hitter.
Oh, right. Sorry. We're doing Andrew specifically. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. After Ty France, no, a few others here. After Jake Cronenworth, that was the last name. Sonny Gray. We haven't talked about Sonny Gray. He's having, I think, a pretty strong spring, or maybe it was only 1 start, but it was like a fantastic start.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. So he's a name. Look, when he's on, when he's healthy, we've seen top 20, top 15 starting pitcher seasons out of Sonny Gray. So I don't want to discount that possibility. Chris, you are on the clock here. We're in round 10. Where are you going?
I'm going to go with the guy that I was hinting at when Scott was picking, but never said his name. I am going to take Spencer Torkelson if the draft room will let me. It is currently not letting me.
Let me see if I can give you a little
assist. No, it worked.
That. Okay, there you go.
No, it didn't. It's not working.
Uh-oh.
That's what they all say.
No reason I shouldn't be able to take him.
Oh, yeah, everything's frozen for me, too.
Yep. All right, we're having some technical difficulties.
Boom to the moon. All right, well, let's talk about
podcast. Come on, guys.
Let's talk about Spencer Torkelson for now. He's been named to the opening day roster for the Detroit Tigers. I mentioned the other day he only had 4 strikeouts in spring training, so you love to see that. He walks a ton. The power should be there. Prospect pedigree. Chris, you want to add him to the profit pocket?
Yeah, I think he probably should go in that range, 130 to 150, which is about where we're taking those guys. His minor league numbers are perhaps less impressive than you might think, given that he's a bat-only first base prospect, and you look at it, and it's like 881 at AAA, 933 OPS at AA. It's like,
are we stopping at a 933 OPS?
Well, it's just
really?
It's the kind of thing, like, it's not like it's Bobby Witt and Julio Rodriguez were better, and they play premium defensive positions, and they're great base runners. And so it's like, well, why does Spencer Torkelson deserve to be mentioned in that range? And it's because, like, he was running ISOs near 300 and he walked above 13% of the time in both AA and AAA as a 21-year-old making his, professional debut. He had never played professional baseball before. And the only thing holding him back was he had a 278 BABIP in AA and a 233 in AAA. Maybe for some reason he will be a low BABIP guy. He does hit the ball in the air, but even last season, he didn't really run alarming infield fly ball rates. He wasn't like an extreme Nolan Arenado type of fly ball hitter. So I think Spencer Torkelson was even better than the underlying numbers last season would make you think. And I think he's pretty much going to hit the ground running and be like a borderline top 12 first baseman.
I think you have to keep in mind too, it was his first year of professional baseball, and that's all he needed to get to the majors. So that speaks to the talent level as well.
And just the fact that nobody thinks he's anything but a first baseman. I think the Tigers might have played him a little bit at third base.
Yep, they did.
But nobody actually thinks he's a third baseman. Everybody's pretty much in agreement that he's going to be a first baseman moving forward. So the fact that he's a unanimous top 5 prospect and was the consensus number 1 pick in the draft, like when that happens, the amount of certainty that people have in how good the bat is really, really high. And the guys that you compare that to in recent years would be Andrew Vaughn, which hasn't worked out yet, but Pete Alonso, another first base only college bat. That's worked out pretty well. Spencer Torkelson is arguably viewed as a better prospect than either of those guys. Actually, I think inarguably in both cases.
The one thing I question is, okay, we like Alex Kirilloff a lot. We like Joe Adell a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time moving Torkelson ahead of them, which putting him in the profit pocket would require me to do.
With Kirilloff, I'm higher on Torkelson than Kirilloff, but you like Kirilloff especially. Adele I already have in like the 150 range, so I don't actually know if I would have to put him ahead of Adele.
I think it's easier in a league like this because we're talking OBP instead of batting average for the millionth time. Kirilloff is going to be, he might have a decent OBP, but it'll mostly be batting average. He doesn't walk a lot. And Adele, I don't think walks are a big part of his skill set either. So like if there's any format to do Torkelson over those guys, which is how this one's played out, obviously.
Well, Adele's already gone. Adele went.
Oh, Adele went? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that. Fair enough.
Yeah, so I recently moved Torkelson up to my 17th ranked first baseman, same spot as you, Scott. Chris, you have him up at 15. I guess it's just a courtesy ranking that I still have for DJ LeMahieu, Ryan Mountcastle, Jared Walsh. But theoretically, I could move Torkelson ahead of those names too. I mean, they are names that I never look to draft, so makes some sense.
LeMahieu really looks like a bench player. He's going to be a bench player who plays a lot for the Yankees, but pretty much everything I'm seeing suggests that he's not going to be a starter. You know, he might start.
He's going to be Ben Zobrist.
Yeah.
Not in terms of production necessarily, just in terms of role.
We're back to the level we were in year one, Yankee year one with DJ LeMahieu, where he was going so late in drafts. We just didn't know how much he was going to play for the team. And obviously he hit, and as a result, they had no choice but to play him. So if he hits, if he looks healthy again, DJ LeMahieu will play. They'll find a way. They'll bench Josh Donaldson once per week. They'll bench Kiner Falefa a few times. They'll bench Gleyber Torres, and players will move around and they'll get him in. But ultimately, it comes down to how does DJ LeMahieu look? Is he healthy? Because he had surgery in the offseason. I believe it was a sports hernia surgery.
Yes,
for DJ LeMahieu. All right. Well, we're still trying here.
Looks like I'm back in.
Okay.
Do I have control? Yes, I do. So I'm going to back out Chris's pick.
Oh
no, I'm not. It was Spencer Torkelson. That's V1. Yep. Okay, so I'm just gonna let me.
And he is my utility bat. And why don't we take this opportunity to review our teams through 10 rounds?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's start with your team, Chris. You just selected Spencer Torkelson as your utility bat. You've also got Yasmani Grandal, Joey Votto, then Stanton, Springer, and Joey Gallo. And
Going
then
to
your
be very
pitchers-
strong in OBP and the power categories. Stolen bases. How many would you project my team for right now? If I set the over under at 18.5 with Grandal, Votto, Stanton, Springer, Gallo, and Torkelson, do you take
Way
the
up.
under on 18.5?
Wait, I was going to say 8.
Gallo might steal 6.
I
You
mean, if
know?
there's a way for someone to get you negative steals, I guess they can, right? This is a net steals thing. Like Yasmani Grandal will do that. He might be the slowest player in baseball. So you do not have any steals.
Yep.
Your pitchers are Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Liam Hendricks. The draft is off and running, so we'll check back in on teams as we go. After Chris selected Torkelson, Yoel Moncada, and Michael Kopech. And Scott, Michael Kopech, I think, is someone who actually loses value in this format. I just don't know how often he's going to go 6 innings this season.
Or get saves or holds.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. No, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's wrong to take him 158th overall, but I'm less eager to take him when it's a quality start league.
For sure. All right. And then we see the newest Detroit Tiger, Austin Meadows, 159th overall, round 10. We mentioned yesterday when discussing the trade, he still walks quite a bit, right around a 10% walk rate. But it came with a very low batting average last season. So he hit 234. As a result, his OBP was 315. With middling power, doesn't run. Just hard to get excited about Austin Meadows. It's a little bit more excited. It's a little easier to get excited about these other picks that just happened. Shane Baz finish out round 10 and Jacob deGrom. So 2 potential stash candidates. We have 4 IL spots in this league. And Jacob deGrom, I believe, has gone ahead of.
Yep. Gone ahead of
Lance Lynn, yeah.
Yeah,
Chris
the other
Sale, Lance Lynn, and Jack Flaherty. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the first of the injured starting pitchers. I think, Castillo is in that
Baz
conversation to
technically is
start. too.
Baz is technically the first. And yeah, you were saying Castillo, he's going to be injured at the start of the year, but probably just miss a couple weeks as opposed to a couple months.
That's true.
So, I'm not
I've
saying
had a
it's
lot
wrong.
of trouble figuring out how to rank those guys, though. Like, just relative to one another. I've had trouble.
Yeah, I think I still actually, So, no, let me pull up my rankings.
So I
here.
went with, and I think this is different than what Scott said the other day on the pod, but I went with Lynn, deGrom, Castillo, Clevenger, Sale, Flaherty.
Okay. I think I still have Castillo the highest, just because I think he'll be back the soonest. Not that,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not excited to draft Castillo at all.
Right.
But
Back the soonest, but arguably the worst. I think we're expecting him to be the worst.
That's fair. So I've got a Castillo, Sale, Lynn, deGrom, Flaherty, and then I moved Clevenger just behind Flaherty.
So I had Chris Sale the highest, but that was when they were talking about him being back in May still, and then they put him on the 60-day IL. So I think I need to at least have Lance Lynn ahead of him. That timeline seems the clearest to me because it's a knee as opposed to something on the arm surgery, and they said they expect him to throw off a mound in 4 weeks. Like that, they gave such a clear expectation of what they're looking for from Lance Lynn. So I think he's probably the highest of the injured arms for me. But Sale and Flaherty and deGrom are trickier for sure.
After Jacob deGrom went, we see Cal Quantrill, Chris Taylor, Ian Anderson. Chris selected Alex Cobb, and then Anthony DeSclafani. So we've got a Giants run. And Lourdes Gurriel will be the most valuable Blue Jays hitter this season, according to my bold predictions.
When did Brendan Rodgers get taken?
I believe it was last round. Yes.
That's frustrating.
The middle of round 10.
Okay.
Because he is someone that would fit the punt steals strategy quite well, Chris.
I mean, look, last spring he said he wanted to steal 20 bases. I think he only came up 20 short.
He had as many steals as you and me combined, Chris. So,
which isn't bad for us.
Speaking of which, you started your softball league the other day, right?
Oh yeah, I did. Had a decent game. Well, no, not as a pitcher. Gave up 10 runs in 2 innings as a pitcher.
Oh, jeez.
but made a nice running
You are all
catch when I
that.
moved to right field on defense.
That's got to go.
And went 2 for 3 with an RBI, hit a double off the wall. It's a weird. We're playing at Long Island University's Brooklyn campus, and it's got like a short fence in that field, maybe like 210 feet out. But I hit a double about 15 feet off the wall, so felt pretty good about that one. Got into that one, so it's good.
It's good. All right.
All right.
Few
Very
things. LIU Blackbirds, by the way, rival school of my alma mater, St. Francis College, Brooklyn, the Terriers.
I think they're the Sharks now.
Oh, they're not the Blackbirds anymore?
I think they're the Sharks.
Okay. What happened here?
They are
Luis
the Sharks.
Castillo, Zach Gallen, Yuli Gurriel, and I am on the clock. There was a player that I was debating last round. who is
Sorry.
still
Fake
here.
news.
Oh.
The Brooklyn LIU University is the Sharks. The main LIU is the Blackbirds. You are correct.
Ah, got it. All right, so I was going to do something different, but I feel like as a result,
he lasted way too long.
As a result of us getting excited about other prospects,
Mhm.
Jared Kelnick is someone who is falling down
100%.
draft boards now. So Julio moving way up, right around pick 100. Joe Adele moving up. He's already gone. I just got Jared Kelnick in the middle of round 11, pick 171 overall. The spring has kind of been a mixed bag here. I think he's still going to probably strike out quite a bit, but if he hits his potential, we could be talking 2020, 25 homers, 20 steals if it all works out.
Yeah, I was between Torkelson and Kelenic with my last pick, and I just think either one would have been my utility, and I just figure Torkelson probably fits better with a punt steal strategy, just because I do think he's going to be a better hitter right away. So that was the reason I went that way. But
this might be the first draft ever where Julio Rodriguez, Joe Adele, and Spencer Torkelson all went ahead of Jared Kelnick.
yeah,
I was just writing in our bold predictions piece that's out now on CBSSports.com about how Jared Kelnick just kind of, for no objective reason, being drafted so far ahead of those guys. It kind of reminds me of a couple years ago, Luis Robert going well ahead of Kyle Tucker.
Kyle Tucker.
How we talked about it at the time. Kyle Tucker might be just as good as Luis Robert. Obviously, Tucker's been the better one to have since then, as good as Robert has been. Kind of reminds me of that. Specifically, Kelnick versus Joe Adele.
Yeah.
All right. A few picks happened after I selected Kelnick. Robbie Grossman, he's going to walk a bunch. So that is really a fantastic pick. So the OBP should be good. He could potentially go 2020. He did it last season. After that, Carlos Carrasco went, Alex Kirilloff, Jared Walsh, and
that's another place that you see the influence of this being a listener league. Jared Walsh going so late and so far behind so many of the other first basemen.
Yeah, 175th overall. There were, I guess expert leagues or mock drafts that we did with other industry folk where Jared Walsh would typically go ahead of some of the profit pockets still. And then Scott, you double tap starting pitcher again. So you do it in rounds 1 and 2. You do it in rounds 11 and 12.
Those are my only pitchers. Yeah, I go Noah Syndergaard and Jesus Luzardo here. Luzardo, I'm going a little ahead of my rankings to get him because I keep not getting him and I like him. I have him as a breakout candidate for this season. So, so I'll go for the upside play there, even though I'm skipping ahead a few spots in my rankings. Syndergaard of the three who are returning, non-Justin Verlander division, the three big names returning from Tommy John surgery, he's looked the best this spring. The velocity's been down, but the secondaries have been getting a ton of whiffs and I think I read the Angels aren't really putting any limitations on him either. Now they do have a 6-man rotation because of Ohtani, but a lot of teams are going 6-man to start the year. So I'm not so concerned about that.
Would you guys like to know we did 3 bold predictions on the podcast, and then I asked for one bold prediction that we really believe in addition to those 3 for the piece that's going up on the site on Wednesday morning. Would you like to know my one that I really believe that I didn't mention on the podcast yesterday? I wanted to save it.
Yes.
Go for it.
The Marlins lead the majors in starting pitcher ERA.
Definitely see it.
They finished 10th last year. They were 6th in the first half. And the thing that gets me so excited about them, the depth is ridiculous. Like they've got Max Meyer and Edward Cabrera in AAA. And I just realized Yuri Perez, 18 years old, is starting at AA this season. And he's kind of the next one up that everybody thinks is going to make he was amazing as a, first year as an 18-year-old.
Yeah, I know Baseball America has him as the Marlins' #1 prospect.
Yep.
I don't think they should. I think Max
Meyer and Edward Cabrera just being closer. But
yeah,
Yuri Perez, 6'8", very much in the Sandy Alcantara mold. That team, he could be 3 good months away from being in the discussion too now.
We didn't do, I don't know if we're going to do it on tomorrow's show, but in our bold prediction show, we didn't do like division winners, award winners, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we'll do that tomorrow, Scott.
But I almost 3 wild cards in each league now. I almost had the Marlins making it. I almost did. I gave it serious thought. They were probably my 8th NL team. And obviously 6 playoff spots to fill. So that pitching, and like you look at their lineup, you don't have to squint that hard to see it being a respectable lineup. Like if they get the best case scenario from enough of their hitters, it's going to be respectable.
If they're like the 10th best offense in the National League, they could probably be a playoff team.
Yeah, that's not crazy.
I just don't think they will be the 10th best offense in the National League.
Yeah, I mean it's asking a lot to go right, but there's enough hitting upside in their lineup that it's at least possible, unlike last year.
All right, let's catch people up. After Scott selected Jesus Luzardo, Steven Matz, Corey Knebel, Lou Trevino, Adam Duvall. I selected Lance Lynn. I think he's kind of just sliding a little bit too far here. We have 4 IL spots, and he's my 4th starting pitcher, so I'm willing to take a shot at this point.
I want to comment on Lou Trevino because I feel like that's the reliever. That's the sort of reliever who should get pushed down quite a bit in a saves plus hold league because the ratios aren't very good. The saves total is probably not going to be high anyway for what could be a last place team. Andrew Kittredge, who went a couple of picks later, you hadn't quite gotten to him yet, and reading off the names, Frank. But I think I like that pick a lot more for this format than Lou Trevino, even though it might be close between the two in a standard league. Like I'd still take Kittredge, but it might be closer.
A few strong reliever picks, actually. After I took Lance Lynn, Miles Straw. Look, if you need 30-plus steals and a solid OBP at this point, that is a fine pick. Then Alejandro Kirk. He was part of Scott's bold predictions yesterday. Nate Lowe, Blake Trinan, great in saves plus holds. His ratios were awesome last year. Lots of strikeouts. He plays on one of the best teams in baseball. So that's a great pick. Followed up by Andrew Kittredge. Chris selects Gavin Lux. And then Mike Clevenger and Ryan Mountcastle. I know you needed infield, Chris. So Gavin Lux likely a starter for you, right?
Yeah, he'll be my starter at either second base or shortstop. But I have second base, shortstop, and third base still all open. Now I have a second baseman or a shortstop. So, yeah, I needed to fill those, and I don't love it. I'm not a huge Gavin Lux fan, but I don't know. It's an upside play at a point in the draft where there isn't much at any of those positions. So it is what it is. I probably could have waited. I'm not happy about it.
Well, what do you think about, clearly you just made the decision, but a few picks later, we just saw Brandon Crawford go. So
I made the decision that Gavin Lux was more likely to be drafted than Brandon Crawford between my next 2 picks. So that is frustrating because I do think Brandon Crawford's a better player.
Yeah,
so I'm not happy about that turn of events.
Chris has been tilted in this draft.
Yeah, a little bit.
Brandon Crawford, just that kind of random mid-career breakout. I mean, even more than mid-career, it's kind of late career breakout for him, but he did some interesting things last year. Made more contact, the barrel rate, put the ball in the air. The Giants they find a way to get the most out of their players, Chris.
Really good piece on Baseball Prospectus today talking about how they've kind of, one of the things that they've done as an organization is tried to play matchups, but not so much like lefty righty as much as like swing path versus starting pitcher style, and trying to match, like find the right matchups there, going a little deeper than that. But yeah, the thing with Brandon Crawford is that the breakout kind of started in 2020. His underlying numbers were much better in 2020 than they had been before. And then it led to big production in 2021. So that's part of why I'm more willing to buy into that. Oh, man. Okay, there is another team that does need a shortstop, so I'm going to go ahead and reach again, and not happy about having to do either of these, but whatever. I'm going to take Jeremy Pena here.
Ooh.
Not happy about starting Jeremy Pena and Gavin Lux, even in a 16-team league, but it is what it is.
Now, did you give thought to Bryson Stott instead of Jeremy Pena?
Yes, but for me, the fact that one, Pena's defense and the fact that he's playing in his natural position should keep him in the lineup more. And just two, Stott is a lefty. He's playing out of position. He's got competition for his role. If Alec Boehm can hit, that'll hurt him. And so I think Pena's a little more likely to stick.
Yeah.
So that's the thought process there.
All right. Jeremy Pena, by the way, the bold predictions that we didn't give out on yesterday's podcast that will be published on the site, I had Jeremy Pena finishing as one of the top 3 hitters in terms of fantasy value in the Astros lineup this season.
Yeah, a lot of it depends. He had never really hit for much power in the minors, and then last season in 37 games, 30 games at AAA, he hit 10 home runs. And that was after coming back from a wrist injury. So was it just a small sample size fluke? That's one that I wish we had some good StatCast data to look at and see if he was hitting the ball with more authority. But yeah, it's like with Gavin Lux, there just wasn't a lot of upside left. And he does have 2 home runs in 8 spring games so far. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. So, I mean, for that bold prediction to come through, you figure Tucker and Yordan Alvarez are probably the top 2 hitters. Pena would have to outproduce Jose Altuve and Yuli Gurriel. It's pretty bold, but I like what we've seen so far in the spring. Robinson Cano says he's going to be a superstar. So if Robinson Cano says it, you've got to believe it. What else has happened? After Chris selected Pena, Aaron Savali, strong pick in a quality starts league, Scott Barlow, Anthony Rizzo, Devin Williams. I feel there were a few other non-closer types drafted already. Blake Trinan I mentioned last round, but Devin Williams should be awesome.
Arguably the best.
Yeah.
Kyle Gibson goes, and this is a pitcher I've been considering for the past 3-4 rounds. I'm going to go ahead and take Taylor Rogers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who, as we mentioned on yesterday's podcast, we were going through each bullpen. I think he's going to be the closer, but even if he's not, if he comes out in the 7th or 8th for a lefty matchup, his ratios and strikeouts are really, really good. So, especially here where you don't care as much about saves, I think Taylor Rogers is awesome.
I think he was actually top 10 in saves plus holds last season, because I think he had like 9 to 10 holds in addition to whatever 28 saves or whatever he had.
Yep. Very happy to get Taylor Rogers here in round 13. Eduardo Escobar goes, Matt Barnes. We're coming up on your pick, Scotty. Let's take a look at the team. I know last time you double tapped starting pitcher. And here's what you got. Dalton Varsho, Pete Alonso, Max Muncy, Adalberto Mondesi, Javier Baez, Randall Grichuk, Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant. And then your 4 pitchers, Max Scherzer, Brandon Woodruff, Noah Syndergaard, and Jesus Luzardo. You are not kidding, Scott. I mean, this does not look like a Scott White team at all that I've seen like the entire offseason.
Yeah, it doesn't. I think of my 8 hitters that I've drafted there, the only ones I draft repeatedly are Dalton Varsho and Jorge Soler. So the rest are all pretty unfamiliar to me.
Honestly, this is much more of a Chris Towers team.
Maybe
that's a lot of I really like Randall Grichuk, Max Muncy. Yeah, this is.
Should have taken him.
Yeah. Not sure if I like your team more than mine.
Oh, boy.
I might.
I think I'm going to draft I haven't quite decided. I'm on the clock. So I need to decide quickly. I think I'm going to draft a couple stashes here. I don't have any stashes yet. Everybody is expected to contribute immediately. The first one I'm going to draft is Chris Sale. He's the
Okay.
last.
That's fine.
He's the last of the injured starting pitchers. Jack Flaherty, Lance Lynn, Jacob deGrom are all gone.
Clevenger's gone as well.
Clevenger's gone as well.
Yep.
Though he's not expected to miss as much time as these others. And I want an impact starter for down the line. He's expected to start throwing next week, so hopefully he'll be ready to go as soon as that 60-day timetable is done. And then the other stash I'm going to draft is O'Neal Cruz, who a couple of weeks ago was going much, 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 much earlier than this. And that'll be another big power bat whenever he does arrive. It'll give me some Max Muncy insurance because I could slide Baez over to second base if Muncy doesn't end up sticking around because of his elbow.
I'm unhappy.
Yeah,
I like it. Chris, when you were talking up your pick, I thought you were going to go with O'Neal Cruz. You were like, maybe it's a little early.
I thought so too, and I just queued up O'Neal Cruz, but I think he was thinking, obviously he needs present at bats at shortstop.
And this is why feeling like you have to take a player or have to take a position is not a good place to be in, because I definitely passed up on players that I think are just much better than Gavin Lux and Jeremy Pena in order to feel like I wasn't, going to be completely left out of those positions. And it's not like I feel so good about Jeremy Pena and Gavin Lux that I have some regrets, guys.
All right. I'm thinking about a pitcher here. All right, yeah, let's do it. One of my draft rules, I want to try to leave every draft with one San Francisco Giants pitcher. And so I will draft the last remaining of their rotation, and that is Alex Wood. Here in round.
The others.
What's up, Scott?
You went quite a bit later than the others.
Yeah, I think Cobb and DeSclafani, I think they went in round 11.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I know Chris selected Cobb. So, I have them ranked very closely together. I don't think there's a huge difference between any of them. So, yeah, if I'm getting Wood 3 rounds later, I'm happy to do so. After Alex Wood goes Joe Ryan, who, Chris, remind us, who is Joe Ryan with a mustache?
He is Marco Estrada with a mustache, potentially.
Okay.
I'm just saying we've never seen them in the same place at the same time.
Right. He also has a huge head of hair. I don't think Estrada has one of those either.
No, it's definitely like an outfit. It's a disguise.
Right. After Joe Ryan, Ryan McMahon goes off the board as well.
A draft has gone sideways when I'm tilting over not getting Ryan McMahon in the 14th round.
You hate Ryan McMahon. That's absolutely true.
Boy.
Would he be your starting third baseman, Chris?
Third baseman, yeah. Or an option at second.
Okay.
Just bad stuff all around for your guy, Chris.
After Ryan McMahon, Michael Conforto, who remains a free agent, apparently messed up his shoulder a little bit back in January, so he's working his way back. I think, maybe if we get an injury early in the season somewhere, someone loses an outfielder, we'll see Michael Conforto sign. Zach Greinke, John Means, and then Chris. Oof. That was the other player that I was thinking about taking, and that is Paul Sewald in round 14. Again, saves plus holds, ton of strikeouts last year. He has this wicked slider, and it really doesn't matter what his role is. And he could save games out of the gate because, Ken
he had
Giles,
11 last year. I think he was like top 15 in saves plus holds last season.
Yeah,
I wouldn't doubt it, and he'll be in that leverage spot at the start when I don't think he was last season. Yeah, after Devin Williams, I would say Paul Sewald is my favorite non-closer.
Although I would also say like Drew Steckenrider for the Mariners is in a very similar spot, and he's not going to get the strikeouts.
Not near the strikeouts. Yeah,
his ratios have been quite good overall.
Yeah, huge discrepancy in strikeouts there, but the ratios were very good for Drew Steckenrider. Gleyber Torres goes 221st overall. I know that we've all basically, written Gleyber Torres off.
Oh, that's a good OBP league pickup, especially.
He is having a strong spring here, so I just want to point out he's gone.
I mean, he stole 14 bases and had like a 340 OBP last year. Like that's not a bad pick at all.
He is 10 for 34 in the spring, 3 homers, 1 steal. Yeah, he kind of had that Jose Ramirez thing going on last season, Chris, where remember when Ramirez, he had that like year-long stretch where he's struggling mightily. He was actually running more because I guess he felt that was the only way he can help his team contribute. So instead of hitting home runs, Gleyber Torres basically did the same thing last year. He was just stealing a bunch of bases. But maybe if he bounces back, it looks something like 20 homers, 8 to 10 steals, which is a decent player. It's, it's not nothing. We'll see, man. Gleyber Torres is one of the hardest players to figure out right now.
And there's room for him to bounce back, even if it's not like a 35 homer guy. But if he's a 24 homer guy and he steals 10 bases and he has a 340 to 350 OBP, like that's going to be a valuable player in this format.
Yep. After Gleyber Torres, Brian Hayes. There is some question about whether Hayes will be ready for opening day. I know he's dealing with an ankle injury right now. Honestly, for all of Scott's Adam Wainwright shares, he's probably hoping for Brian Hayes not to be in the lineup. But man, that Pirates lineup is just so bad. It will get progressively worse if Brian Hayes is not in it.
I don't remember Wainwright going. Okay, he went round 6.
Yeah.
He must have gone so much earlier than he normally does that I never even had a chance to think about drafting him, because that's probably my most drafted player this year.
Yeah. In terms of quality starts, he excels in this format. Adam Wainwright, 22 quality starts last season. That was 4th most in baseball. You had only Walker Buehler, Robbie Ray, Sandy Alcantara.
The thing is, if he's as good as he was last year, and frankly in 2020 as well, he'll excel in all 4 bats. But yeah, I mean, maybe slightly more so in quality starts leagues. But look, I mean, as deep as he pitches into games on a team that might make the playoffs, like wins, or he's just as much of a standout in wins, probably.
Hyunjin Ryu and Avisail Garcia to finish out round 14. The first pick of round 15 is Herman Marquez. And Marquez goes deep into his starts. I think the hardest part for him will be keeping opposing teams under, to 3 runs or less, basically, for the quality start. He'll give you 6 quite often, but keeping runs off the board, that's the bigger concern for Marquez there. After he goes Marco Gonzalez and Jose Urquidy.
I wanted to mention last round toward the end, it kind of got swallowed up by the Paul Sewald pick, but right before that, John Means went. And like the worst thing about John Means is that he pitches for the Orioles. But if it's not a wins league, that doesn't matter anymore. So that might be one of the pitchers who moves up the most in this quality starts format. Because, he's so efficient. He's gonna, if he stays healthy, he's going to pitch deep into games. And I think the ERA is going to be low and as a fly ball pitcher in what's now a very big park. So yeah, I think that was a good pick.
Chris, I've got to say, you are crushing here with the saves plus holds relievers. You took Paul Sewald last round, and then you just picked up David Bednar as well. The Pirates, how many games will they win? But I just think the ERA, the whip, and the strikeouts for Bednar are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, and look, the games where they are leading late, he'll be in them, and that will be somewhere north of 60, I would bet. Maybe they might have a lead late in 70 games this season. So he'll have hold opportunities. They don't have to win to get a hold, if I understand the rule correctly, right? You can get a hold in an eventual loss, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just as long as you do your part to preserve the lead.
Yeah, so there you go.
We don't even know how holds work since we're not used to playing.
Will Smith was a very good pick just now. I considered him as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I mentioned there were, I think, 3 Braves relievers in the top 10 in holds last season. They just they had a lot of leads. They won a lot of games. So now Will Smith slides into that 8th inning role. A couple other picks that went: Joe Barlow, Alex Verdugo, Lance McCullers, Trent Grisham, and the aforementioned Will Smith. I think I'm going to join Scott in going Bizarro draft here.
Oh,
I don't ever, none of us take Tyler Stevenson, but it's pick 235.
Yeah, that's
and I don't have a catcher, so I'm going to take Tyler Stevenson, who has a exactly 10.2% walk rate in his 140 career games.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
He hit for a good batting average last season, 366 OBP. You know, what's the in-game power like? You know, mid-teens home runs, maybe 15, but he's going to play a lot.
Yep.
Counting stats should be okay.
It's a good pick, Frank. It's a good pick.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel the need. I think I'm just trying to talk myself into it because I just never take Tyler Stevenson. So
yeah, no, I hear you.
I'm trying to make myself feel better about it.
There's another catcher who's still on the board that
I wonder if Scott and I are thinking the same guy.
It's just confused me why nobody's had interest in him. Like I felt bad in that main event draft I did because we took Alejandro Kirk around pick 200, who I like a lot, and who went.
Are we talking about the guy who hit the second most home runs at catcher last season?
No.
Okay, because he's slightly less terrible in OBP than he is in regular formats.
You're talking about Gary Sanchez. I'm talking about
Mike Zunino.
No. Oh, I'm sorry.
Zunino is actually is better in OBP. Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Who I was talking about was Joey Bart. I don't know why there isn't more enthusiasm for Joey Bart, who's top prospect, former number 3 overall pick, has had a great spring. Nobody blocking him in San Francisco. I'm just a little surprised that he tends to go like around pick 300 sometimes.
The problem is the hit tool has taken such a hit the last couple of seasons, or at least has been so bad. He struck out so much.
Yes.
But in a 2-catcher league, he's definitely. I've drafted him a bunch in 2-catcher leagues.
It hasn't tanked his prospect stock. He's moved down some of the prospect rankings, but like he's still considered a top prospect. And it's the sort of thing where he's gotten so little experience in the minors that I don't think we really know what the upside is for Joey Bart. I have questions about the hit tool. I think that's fair, but at catcher,
the power looks really, really good.
And like, what kind of? Anytime you can find upside at catcher. The combination of upside and opportunity.
Yeah, like I'd rather have him than Elias Diaz.
Yeah.
You know, or someone like that. There's a lot of like boring catchers who are being drafted ahead of him in a lot of leagues that like I'd rather take the chance on Joey Bart that he turns into something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Chris, don't sleep on my guy, Elias Diaz, man. He was really good last year. And by really good, I mean like, you know, really good in the most second catcher-esque way.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like your second catcher, you're hoping hits 250 with 15 home runs. Joey Bart might only do that. He might hit 200, but he could hit 250 with 25 home runs. That's not out of the question.
That is fair. Yep.
Who should I take?
All right, let's catch people up. Got some picks going on. I selected.
Okay. Sorry, I was thinking through that one.
We'll get to your picks here, Scotty.
Yeah.
I selected Tyler Stevenson, then AJ Pollock, Steven Strasburg, who I saw today. I believe he's gonna either do some live batting practice or pitch in a simulated game coming up. So some positive news. Mark Melanson, who I think actually should be devalued in this format. You want to draft for ratios and relievers on good teams. I don't know if Mark Melanson gives you either of those.
He has been devalued in this format for what it's worth. Going 40, but I think it could stand to be even more.
Right. After Melanson, we see Darren Ruff, and then Scott, you double tap pitcher once again, John Gray and Tony Gonsolin.
Yeah. So I was especially excited to make the John Gray pick because I feel like the challenge at drafting starting pitchers now is they have to be ones you can trust to go 6+ innings with some regularity. So while there's a lot of young, exciting starting pitchers, not a lot, but there are some young, exciting starting pitchers out there that I might prioritize in other formats in a quality start one. I'd rather have Gray, who has quite a bit of upside himself. He has. We hoped he would develop a new pitch coming out of Colorado because he kind of had to simplify his arsenal there since the thin air robs pitches of their movement. And it seems like he has. It's another version of a slider, but it's that sweeper type of slider that's gaining traction across the majors. A lot more like horizontal movement. And it's responsible for like almost all of his strikeouts this spring. He's been having a lot of success with it. And it's I suspect since it relies so much on movement, it's not a pitch he could have gotten away with throwing in Colorado. So I'm still very hopeful of a big step forward for John Gray, since we're already seeing him experiment with that arsenal.
All right. And I am trying to make my pick. Will it work? Uh-oh. Don't say we're broken again. I got it.
It worked.
All right, I got my guy Tristan
Good
McKenzie.
pick.
Scott, I think some of what you're talking about, I don't know how often Tristan McKenzie is going to go 6 innings or give me quality starts, but if he breaks out the way that I think he can, kind of like in a Freddie Peralta way from last year, like if he just progresses as a pitcher, then maybe in turn he gives you quality starts as a result. But I am skeptical. Catch you up on a few other picks here. We are in round 16. Scott selected Tony Gonsolin, then Mackenzie Gore, Colton Wong, Gary Sanchez, Mike Zanino. I took McKenzie, and then Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Gregory Soto.
I wanted to mention the Darren Ruff pick right before I double tap pitcher there. That is somebody I like for this format because he gives you the big power I want in every lineup spot. And he's a good OBP source. So, there's a question of how much he'll play. The Giants love playing matchups unlike any other team. But they're not completely healthy right now either. So that opens the door, I think, for more playing time for Darren Ruff. I kind of hope to get him like at an extreme discount. And so I wasn't quite ready, but I was like a round or two away from being ready to take Darren Ruff.
Yeah. And Darren Ruff is one of those where I can't believe I'm saying this about like a 35-year-old who is, he came back from, I think it was either Korea or Japan. He kind of reinvented himself, but you kind of just draft the skills and you hope that the playing time works out for Darren Ruff. Because he was good last year, and it wasn't just against lefties. Like he was awesome against lefties, but he was pretty good against right-handed pitching as well.
But was it against pitchers who throw balls that sink or who throw balls that elevate? And is his swing plane capable of taking on? I'm just going back to what Chris was saying about the way the Giants set their lineups last year.
It's true.
It makes you wonder. I mean, didn't seem like there was much rhyme or reason for the way they said it at times, but evidently there was.
After Gregory Soto went, Charlie Blackmon, then Joey Bart, Jesus Sanchez, Chris selected Zach Plesac, and then Trevor Bauer goes. So Chris Plesac at pick 252, he was, in some drafts a top 75 pick last year. And if nothing else, he will go deep into his starts.
Yeah, I've got a lot of Zach Plesac this year, actually, because I don't think the skills have totally evaporated. The problem with him as a top 75 pick for me last year was just I didn't think the stuff was as good as it needed to be to justify that, and he had a very thin margin for error. But he is someone who even last year almost averaged 6 innings per start. I'm looking at it. I think he was 6 innings per start on 25 starts would have been 145 innings, I believe. He ended up with 142.2. So even with a 4.67 ERA, he almost averaged 6 innings per start. So, if he can be more like a high 3s ERA guy, Zach Plesac could get a lot of quality starts.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, yeah. Why not?
Zach Plesac, it's round 16 again. After Plesac, Trevor Bauer, Andrew Benintendi, Tarek Skubal, and Dylan Floro to finish it out. And the first pick of round 17 is Tanner Houck. Mm-hmm. Tanner Houck, by the way, in his final spring training start, he did go 6 innings. So it inspires a little bit of confidence that
it does.
If he pitches efficiently, then they'll let him go a little bit.
That was one of the young pitchers I was talking about where you like the upside and maybe in a different format, you'd be more likely to go for it. But like keeping pace in that quality starts category because more quality starts happen than wins, obviously. So you can't rely as much on the random distribution like you do with wins. You really need to actually be intentional about drafting pitchers who can deliver quality starts. I'm not saying Tanner Houck's a bad pick. I mean, obviously he could take a step forward and become somebody who contributes them with enough regularity, but the like that, it's a more difficult standard to meet than what you're normally looking for in an upside play at pitcher.
All right. After Tanner Houck, Eric Lauer, Corey Kluber. Kluber, I believe, on Tuesday's final spring outing, he also went 6 innings against the Atlanta Braves. Michael Brantley next up. And Chris, you are back on the clock. Let's take a look at what you've got going on.
Okay,
You
so-
still need a third baseman.
So everybody's got a third baseman and everybody's got a utility. So I'm in that spot where it's like, how much longer can I let this go? And I think I'm just gonna draft Eugenio Suarez.
Okay.
And hope that there's any kind of bounce back whatsoever, even to just like a 315 on base percentage. If he can give me that, I will live with that because I've got plenty of OBP otherwise, and he'll still probably hit 30 homers.
Yeah, he was someone I kind of liked early in the offseason as a potential bounce back. He had a monster September. Obviously, liked him a lot more in Cincinnati. Mariners, better lineup, not as great of a ballpark. So it's
don't love the park shift for sure.
A little bit of a trade-off there. And speaking of the Mariners, the very next pick was Matt Brash.
That was specifically the young upside arm I was considering instead.
That was the other guy I was considering.
Honestly, John Gray wasn't a choice to me. It was between Gonsolin and Brash. Gonsolin, of course, may have his own trouble pitching deep into games. I don't know. That was a very close call. I think it ultimately came down to I think the Mariners are going to have to be careful with Brash's innings in a way the Dodgers may or may not be with Gonsolin. And of course, Gonsolin, I mean, you just look at his career numbers, like that'll play, you know. Brash has more to prove. But I do think Brash's upside is higher.
Mm-hmm.
All right. After Matt Brash, Andrew Vaughn, Mark Canha, and Mitch Keller. I am on deck here, and I'm looking at an outfielder that I want to select, and it is not Mike Yastrzemski, who just went one pick before me. So I'm going to take Tommy Pham, who has been batting third in spring the past week or so with the Cincinnati Reds. Not a great lineup, but
that's a good pick. Yeah.
If he's batting third, just ahead of Joey Votto, maybe
OBP.
20 homers, 15 steals, good OBP. He's got to stay healthy. That's been a huge struggle, but Tommy Pham,
both of those picks are good.
Fun player. After Tommy Pham, my man Connor Joe goes off. Hunter Green. So we're starting to see basically all of those young, exciting prospect pitchers who made their respective teams starting to get drafted. Yusei Kikuchi is the next one up there. Scott, you are on deck. And
well, although the Tommy Pham and Connor Joe picks back to back makes it a little easier what direction I should go here.
Okay. Your utility spot is still open. You have a pitcher spot open as well. Let's read off your team. You got Dalton Varsho, Pete Alonso, Max Muncy, Adalberto Mondesi, Javier Baez, and then your outfield, Randall Grichuk, Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant. Your pitchers, Max Scherzer, Noah Syndergaard, John Gray, Brandon Woodruff, Jesus Luzardo, Tony Gonsolin, and you have two bench stashes in Chris Sale and O'Neal Cruz.
So what am I going to do now, huh?
Bobby Dahlbeck was the pick right before Scott, by the way, who is having a pretty decent spring as well.
Do I want to push my luck at starting pitcher? I don't think so. I don't think I do. I am going to take Nestor Cortez, who's like one of my good luck charms this year. And which of these two do I want to do? Do I want to go Nick Lodolo? Go for a little upside there. I mean, he threw like 60 innings last year. I mean, I don't think it's a bad pick, but we're getting to a point where we're almost out of pitchers I like, you know? Or do I go with a reliever? My first reliever. I think I'm going to go with my first reliever because if this guy doesn't end up closing, he's almost certainly setting up, and I love the ratios, for Art Warren of the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. Hey, I'm about it, Scott. The strikeouts were awesome last year. I think it was a 19% swinging strike rate for Art Warren, and he has some experience closing in the minors as well. in the Reds organization. So
Yeah. And like he was just as dominant in the minors, I want to say, right?
yeah,
So it's not because it's a small sample that he dominated in the majors. It's only 21 innings. And so, well, you know what? He wasn't that great at Louisville, 5.06 ERA, though the strikeout rate was still crazy. He was, he was,
you know what? He was Camilo Duvall-esque.
Except, no, his walk rate was fine. He gave up 10.1 hits per 9 in his 16 minor league innings, striking out 30.
Yeah.
So that's weird. I don't know if he had a bad defense behind him or what. That's weird.
He was bad in the minors last year, Scott, but leading up to that, he was very good. 2019, 1.71 ERA, 2018, 1.72.
What I'm saying is the only thing that made that ERA high in the minors last year was hits and not home run hits, like in play hits.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's 16 innings. There's, anyway, I think he's good.
After you selected Art Warren, Aaron Ashby, Jesus Aguilar, Enrique Hernandez, and Elias Diaz, the most catcher 2 of all the catchers, but someone I do like to get as my second catcher in a Roto League. And I am on the clock. There was a name that I was looking at. I've already started working on my bench hitters, so I don't think I want to go back to that.
We only got 3 bench spots left.
Making sure that I'm not missing. That's fun. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take another reliever here and somebody who may. Oh, I got to do this fast. Someone pause it? Or no? Can I get it in?
I'll pause it for you. You're the host.
Boom. I don't know if it happened or not. All right, I'm going to take Jonathan Loaisiga. So he had just 17 holds last year, but the ratios were great. He's about a strikeout per inning, and more than anything,
17 holds is not a bad number of holds.
Yeah. And if anything happens to Chapman, I think he's the next man up there as well. So, he's on a winning team. So if they're not holds, he'll work into saves, and now, I like the pitcher. So
let me double check this before I say it. Yeah. So I had a piece come out on Tuesday breaking down the bullpen situation for every team and kind of prioritizing closer choices, which also kind of serves as a holds priority, a holds hierarchy. I had Chad Green ahead of Jonathan Loaisiga. So why Loaisiga over Chad Green, Frank?
Well, maybe I was planning to take Chad Green as well, Scott. I don't know. That's a fair question. I think Chad Green gets more strikeouts. Last year, the ratios were better for Jonathan Loaisiga. Maybe it's just because I watched so many Yankee games. Like Chad Green feels like he's worse than he is. He gives up home runs in the worst spots. His numbers are still good.
Yeah, well, his ERA is always suspiciously high for as good as his other numbers are, because his other numbers are like...
Ooh, a slam dunk from Chris Towers. What happened?
He's mad because he missed out on Reed Detmers.
Annoying. Good pick. Good pick, Adam.
You gonna be okay?
No, I'm not. One of the last upside pitchers left that I really like. I haven't drafted enough of him. I haven't been as intentional about drafting Reed Detmers as I needed to be. And I'm paying the price now.
I'm sorry, Chris.
It's okay. It's not your fault.
In the meantime, I will I'll catch people up after I took Loaisiga, Nick Pivetta, Drew Steckenrider, Reed Detmers, Miguel Sano, Adley Rutschman. This is pretty late for Adley Rutschman too in a one catcher league. I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, where are you going here? Are you looking at another upside arm?
Depends how we define that term, I suppose. But I am going to go with Merrill Kelly, who's been getting a little bit of hype this spring. Got a little extension for himself. Did throw almost 6 innings per start last season. So, it's more about, can he get that ERA under 4? If he can, I would imagine he's going to average close to 6 innings per start, if not a little better than that. And, could be somewhat useful.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. No, that's a good pick. Again, I think more than anything is it's kind of like a veteran pitcher, so they're gonna let him go. Likely won't get wins with the D-backs, but you don't care about that when we're looking for quality starts. After Merrill Kelly, Eliezer Hernandez, who left with a forearm contusion. I believe he got struck by a comebacker in his start on
but
Tuesday.
it seems like he's okay.
Yeah. So that's good news because
The only problem is he never goes 6 innings. Like even when things are going well, he very rarely throws 6 innings. And so he's someone I actually like more in a standard roto league.
Yep. All right. After Hernandez, Casey Mize, Jordan Montgomery. Scott, I feel like you didn't get to like finish up your point on the Yankees relievers.
Oh, I mean, it could go either way.
Because of my
Chapman
temper
lost
tantrum.
his job. It wasn't. How
It was
much Chad Green analysis do we really need, honestly?
Yeah, that's fair. In case you haven't realized, we're just gonna play this out. We'll keep the draft, the stream going, the podcast going. It's our last draft of the offseason, so we'll have some fun. We'll run a little bit long here. Again, we'll break this down into 2 different parts on the podcast side. Luis Patino just went. Someone I know you also like, Chris. Was he in consideration for you?
Yeah, he was definitely in my queue. He's another guy that I just don't know if he's ever going to go 6 innings all that often, especially pitching for the Rays. Good news is he's already been named part of their opening day rotation, which is not surprising, except that he was dealing with like a shoulder issue at one point in spring. So was just a little concerned about that. But I do think Luis Patino has, a decent amount of breakout potential. So definitely someone I like drafting.
All right. And the first pick of round 19 is Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson.
Jock Peterson. That's kind of an interesting one. He could be playing pretty regularly for the Giants.
Yes, he can. I know they've had some injuries there. He's just kind of jaggy at this point, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah.
Last year he hit.
Yeah, it was Lamont Wade Jr. got hurt. So yeah, it's Peterson should be a pretty regular in left field.
238 batting average, 18 homers, 732 OPS, 8% walk rate. I don't know that there are bad picks necessarily at this point. We're approaching pick 300. After Jock Peterson, Huascar Ynoa. His numbers were good. His surface level numbers, the strikeout minus walk rate was really strong for Ynoa last season. He's just a 2-pitch pitcher. I know earlier in spring training, he was kind of messing around with his changeup a little bit. So if that's a pitch that he can use 10 to 12% of the time, maybe throw it against lefties a little bit, I think that can go a long way for Huascar Ynoa. I don't mind it this late. After Ynoa, Nick Lodolo, Trey Mancini, Chris, you selected Ian Happ, and then Jamer Candelario and Dinelson Lamet.
Lamet's another guy I was thinking about. Yeah, could be a decent source of saves and holds.
Yeah, he could be a multi-inning reliever too. So if the ratios are good, they might matter a little bit more from Dinelson Lamet. Strikeouts there with him too. Chris, you selected Ian Happ, by the way. I feel like we haven't talked about him much this all season.
No.
Yeah, it's kind of because he plays for the Chicago Cubs, so I guess it's just not exciting to talk about him. But he was better in the second half last season.
Yeah, he just had such a mediocre season overall.
I feel like we say that about Ian Happ every year, right? Like he was good in the second half, and that's the last thing we remember.
Yeah, look, his overall numbers in 2020 were really good. Especially in this format, I think it was a 360 OBP and a slug over 500. So he's someone who benefits from an OBP league because he does walk around 12% of the time. But the strikeouts have been an issue last season. It's just like consistency more than anything. He's got the skills. He's got the power, especially. Max exit velo last season, 84th percentile. He hits the ball hard. It's just a question of doing that consistently enough to take advantage. And he hasn't been able to do that enough.
Again, that is Ian Happ. I'll read off his second half numbers, but I am on the clock, so I have to make a pick. And I'm going to do exactly what I said I was going to do. I'm going to take Chad Green as well. So let's go Yankees. I've got Chad Green, Jonathan Loaizaga, and Josh Donaldson. Either way, I'm getting holds or saves if something goes wrong with Chapman. Good ratios, lots of strikeouts between those two. So I'm happy to do it. Ian Happ in the second half last year, he hit 268 and 886 OPS. And what really helped was he lowered his ground ball rate about 7 percentage points compared to the first half. Put the ball in the air more. Home run to fly ball ratio went up. Yeah. Need more consistency. Other picks that have happened. Drew Rasmussen, Luis Arias, Patrick Wisdom, Nicky Lopez, Riley Green, Anthony Bender, Cole Sulser. Which of these picks were the ones that hurt you, Scott?
Anthony Bender, because he's another one who's going to get either, if he's not getting saves, which he may, he'll get holds. And he went 50 picks after Dylan Floro, which doesn't make any sense to me at this point. I also thought the Riley Green pick was interesting. He's somebody I envisioned myself taking because obviously upside's great, but you can't stash him in an IL spot. And I'm finding like we've almost filled up our benches, and there's a surprisingly high number of players I still like out there. I'm going to go with a couple outfielders here, fill that utility spot. One with Andrew McCutchen, who I think could be pretty sneaky. He walked 80 times last year, hit for a low batting average, but he thinks he was favoring his knee in a way that took away some of his opposite field power, and he's going to be playing DH for the Brewers primarily. So I think I like that pick. And then a flashy pick here, the first time I've had occasion to take him in fantasy, Josh Lowe, or as he's known on our site, Joshua Lowe, who is set to take Austin Meadows' spot in the Rays lineup, and I think is more interesting than Meadows because he brings some speed and I think higher end power too.
Yeah, no, I like that. He went 2020 last season in the minors, 20 plus homers, 20 plus steals. The McCutchen pick, by the way, he's 8 for 20 in the spring, 2 homers, more walks and strikeouts, and 2 steals. So if there was any indication that the knee is feeling good, Andrew McCutchen is running in spring training. So I think that is pretty interesting. So nice picks there, Scotty. After Josh Lowe, Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo's dealing, I believe, with a neck injury. I saw that he got a cortisone shot. Might not be ready for opening day. Man, like, what can go wrong will go wrong for the New York Mets. You can't make this stuff up. Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer tweaks the hamstring. He's not going to pitch on opening day. They're hoping he pitches on Friday. Nimmo received a cortisone type injection in his neck. That doesn't sound good. So I don't know. Maybe it helps out my guy Dom Smith get some playing time. After Nimmo went Rowan Wick, Will Myers, Austin Slater. And I am up. Later Slater. And I have not had an opportunity to look through. Oh, he's a fun player. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be it. Let's take a look at the next page real quick. Okay, scrolling through. Riveting podcast right now. I'm sorry for those listening. Okay, I'm going to select Bailey Ober, who has been generating some buzz around the fantasy industry. If nothing else, he doesn't walk many batters at all. So I think he'll pitch efficiently, which maybe helps him get to that 6 inning threshold for quality starts. I don't think I had a single share of him up to this point, so I'm happy to do so.
That was, if I took another starting pitcher, it was going to be him.
Nice. Yeah, that makes me feel pretty good. That's Scott White. He knows what he's doing sometimes, right? So
every now and then. After
Bailey Ober, Kyle Higashioka, someone we talked about as a spring riser, leads all of spring training in home runs. So looks like he's going to be the main starting catcher for the Yankees. Good ballpark, good lineup. Scott, I think you mentioned that he kind of changed his batting stance a little bit, or maybe it was Chris.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, he reworked his swing he modeled it after Josh Donaldson, who obviously has a swing geared for power. And hey, if he needs any tips, you can just go across the locker room now.
Right, makes sense to me. All right, Kyle Higashioka, interesting one there. We are in round 20. We've got 2 more rounds after this. Then that's it. Draft season is over for the boys. It's been fun.
Man. I am working. I started it before the podcast. I'm working on the week 1 sleeper hitters and pitchers. So that's what stage of the ramp up to the season we're in. We're in the lineup setting stage now. We're officially transitioning from draft season to in season.
Well, Scott, let me ask
exciting.
you, are those sleepers going to be for just the weekend slate or for like the long week?
I'll have some for both.
Okay.
It's geared more for just the weekend slate if your week one is Thursday through Sunday, because that's the default setting. But of course, some people like to extend it through the first full week, make it an 11-day scoring period. So I'll have a few sleeper recommendations for the people who do those as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll hit that on tomorrow's podcast too. So we'll do season predictions. We'll talk a little bit about sleepers for the weekend, because I mean, even if you don't play in the longer matchup, if you just play in a roto league, you're just setting your lineup for the weekend anyway. So we might have some names for those of you in deeper leagues from the start. After someone selected Kyle Higashioka, JP Crawford, Nick Senzel, Diego Castillo, not the reliever.
Which
for
one?
The Mariners.
Okay.
That is the second baseman. I saw him play third base the other day too, so has some versatility there for the Pirates. Alex Colome, and Chris, you selected Josiah Gray, who I believe is having a terrible spring.
That's fine.
The home runs are just a massive issue for him, right? Like, I think the strikeout stuff is there for Josiah Gray. He just allows so many fly balls and so many home runs.
Yeah, he's given up 5 home runs in 9 2/3 innings, 10 runs overall. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it's a case of, like, one, his fastball just wasn't very good last season, and that's always a concern. You can mitigate it by not throwing your fastball much, but most pitchers are still going to throw it 50% of the time at least. And yeah, it's been really hittable in the majors, so that's an issue. I wonder if he, could benefit from throwing fewer strikes, which is not always or working in the zone a little less, but the makings of a good pitcher are there. Like, his slider and curveball are both really, really good swing and miss pitches. And so when you're talking about this late in the draft, like, yeah, Josiah Gray is not a perfect pitcher. There are none here. So I'll take a swing on some upside there.
Yeah, that is a fair point. After Josiah Gray, Chas McCormick, Jonathan Scope, and Ahmed Rosario. And we are one pick away from round 21. And there you are. Edward Cabrera is the next pick. Let's quickly run through each other's teams. We'll take a look and talk about some other picks, and then we'll wrap up the podcast and the stream here. And Chris, let's see what you got going on. All right, so you've got Yasmani Grandal, Joey Votto, Gavin Lux, Eugenio Suarez, Jeremy Pena in the infield, and then Giancarlo Stanton, George Springer, Joey Gallo, Spencer Torkelson in the outfield and utility. Then for your pitchers, you've got Justin Verlander, Liam Hendricks, Alex Cobb, Garrett Cole, Eduardo Rodriguez, and then 2 strong saves plus holds relievers, Paul Sewald, David Bednar. On your bench, you've got Merrill Kelly, Ian Happ, Josiah Gray, Zach Plesac. The infield's not perfect, Chris, but you've got a lot of power, and the pitching is interesting, I would say.
Yeah, I think this team is well suited to compete in this format. Obviously, punting steals is certainly the way to go with the roster that I have, but I should be able to compete pretty much everywhere. I think it's a very strong OBP team, so that's good. It's one of those teams where you have to remind yourself it's a 16-team league, because that it starts to get a little ugly when you're skewed towards 12 teams, but I'm pretty happy with it. I wish there was a little more upside on my bench, and I'm not sure the next few guys that I'm going to take are going to have a ton of upside. So, hopefully I'll be able to stumble upon some, or I won't have many injury issues. But it is an old core for sure between Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Giancarlo Stanton, George Springer, Grandal, Votto. There's some risk there in that kind of core build as well, but I'm pretty happy with it overall. I think it's going to compete.
Hey, you know what? If there was ever a theme that made sense for Chris Towers' team, just stay healthy.
Yeah, old injury prone.
makes sense there. Yeah, look, it's a lot of OBP. There's power. I think you'll be scouring the waiver wire for any second, third, and shortstop options, but Yeah, if you hit on some of those, then
Yeah.
I think you'll be all right. All right, so you selected Hector Neris, who will likely set up for Ryan Presley. Then Adam Ottavino goes. A few other picks this round. Josh Young, who you won't be able to stash in the IL because he's on the minor league IL.
Yeah.
And then Taiwan Walker, James Karinchak. Karinchak's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
This is
is he gonna I thought I saw something that he may not be on the opening day roster, but I wasn't.
I think he's
I don't know.
hurt.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, shoulder, but
All right.
not considered a long-term injury.
And yeah, I mean, could be one of those 100 strikeout relievers fairly easily if he's healthy.
Yep. After Adam Ottavino, Brad Hand goes, and I'll try and figure out who I want to take. How many picks do we have left? I think we have 2. Yeah. On my bench, I've got 3 pitchers, 1 hitter. So maybe I'll look for another upside type bat. And let's see. Talking through Lane Thomas, kind of interesting at this point. Like, he just keeps sliding in drafts. I know it's kind of a bummer he's not going to lead off for the Nationals, but as long as he's playing every day, could be interesting. Could be like a 2020 guy if everything breaks right. Finally he goes, and it wasn't in round 3. Dominic Smith is the name there.
Is that from the guy who kept auto drafting him?
I hope so. That would make the most sense.
No, it would be sad if it wasn't.
I think it was, yes. It was. Good job, Adam.
Yeah. He was the one being auto drafted. All right. Not really seeing other names that are very exciting here. I'll figure something out. I'm on deck. Jose Miranda just went too. He will start in the minors for the Minnesota Twins. Still someone that you could
I could use about 5 more bench spots personally. I mean, there are several players I'd like to get my mitts on.
Oh, actually,
it's just not going to happen.
I just saw a name that I scrolled across that I will be very excited to select. And it is not Madison Bumgarner who just went. So the player I want is Tyler McGill.
Oh, yep. He was in my queue.
Yeah. So round 21.
Might be the last opening day starter drafted.
Yeah, there's talks either he or, man, how far they've fallen. Tyler McGill or David Peterson will pitch opening day for the New York Mets. McGill's interesting. He's a tall pitcher, big right-hander, strikeouts last year. Home runs were an issue for him. It doesn't necessarily come with like prospect pedigree, but the minor league numbers were kind of interesting. He's got like 3 or 4 pitches. So Tyler McGill is someone I've been drafting late in basically all my drafts. So let's see what he can do. And I'll take a look at my team, and then Scott will get to your picks and your team.
Okay, sure.
And then we'll wrap this one up. So for me, I've got Tyler Stevenson, Paul Goldschmidt, Jorge Polanco, Josh Donaldson, Willie Adames in my infield. In the outfield, I've got Eloy Jimenez, Jared Kelenic, Seiya Suzuki, and Shohei Ohtani is my utility bat. For my pitchers, I've got Sandy Alcantara, Charlie Morton, Alex Wood, Tristan McKenzie, Logan Gilbert. Those are the starters. I've also got Taylor Rogers, Jonathan Loaizaga, Chad Green for my relievers. And then on the bench, I've got Lance Lynn, Tommy Pham, Bailey Ober, Tyler McGill. So I've got a stash in Lance Lynn, some upside pitchers, I feel like, in Ober and McGill. I like Tommy Pham quite a bit. I like the way this team turned out overall. You know what? I was reading the outfield. I was like, it seems maybe a little weak. And then I got to Ohtani, and I was like, all right, well, yeah, it's a nice reminder that, the lineup, I feel like the lineup is pretty well balanced here. I waited maybe a little bit too long for my 3rd and 4th starting pitchers, but I wound up with a lot of names here that I like. So with Sandy and Charlie Morton, Alex Wood, Logan Gilbert again. Yeah, those are names that I like quite a bit. Willie Adames is the breakout there. I like this team. Solid. And then let's get to your picks. Scott, who'd you take? You took Tyler Matzik and Colin McHugh. So, all right, we're both going with the Homer saves plus hold strategy.
I mentioned the Braves had all those holds last year. Tyler Matzik was 5th in holds with 25. And Colin McHugh, I think, is going to be the primary right-handed setup man. And like, if he continues last year's ratios, he'll be a great reliever in this format. So yeah, those are my 3 relievers. Those 2 and Art Warren. Those are going to be my saves plus holds guys to begin the season. I feel okay with that. There are some interesting bats. There's one starting pitcher I like, but I'll try to pick one of them up when I put Chris Sale on the IL.
All right, you sure you don't want to just tell us who it is, Scott? Or
No.
Oh, all right.
You
all
sure
right,
you don't want to know who it is right after this pick?
No.
Right after my pick? Come on, man. All right, I'm looking. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned his name earlier. I'll go ahead and will I do it? Yeah, I'll take Lane Thomas. Little power and speed. The walk rates we've seen at times, solid for Lane Thomas. So
this is a rare draft where we could see 2 Diego Castillos drafted. The second baseman already went.
Yeah, that's it.
But
it's a good point.
Yeah, just
So
that's
since-
one name for it.
Since I don't have any IL stashes that I'm going to put in the IL, and I don't have any waiver claims to make immediately, I'm just going to throw out there for the last 7 people who are picking. Jordan Hicks. Let's make sure he gets drafted. Andrew Heaney. And, maybe Carlos Santana. Maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
Sneaky OBP, someone who's was a standout for years.
And maybe
this
Garrett
format.
Whitlock.
Any other names, Chris?
Are you trying to
I'm
guess who the players I want are?
I don't know who Scott Jameson Tyone.
No.
I
don't know. Maybe you've already said it. I don't think Scott's going to give it up. Let's take a look at Scott's team. He's got Dalton Varsho at catcher, then Pete Alonso, Max Muncy, Adalberto Mondesi, Javier Baez in the infield, then Randall Grichuk, Jorge Soler, Chris Bryant, and Andrew McCutcheon in the outfield and his utility spot. He started off with the 2 pitchers, Max Scherzer, Brandon Woodruff, but he also has Noah Syndergaard, John Gray, Jesus Luzardo, Tony Gonsolin, Nestor Cortez, Chris Sale as a stash. Who are the relievers? He's got Tyler Matzik, Colin McHugh, Art Warren, Josh Lowe, some upside there, and O'Neal Cruz waiting on him. So what do you think, Scott, about the way this team turned out?
I'm happy with it. I got the power-laden lineup I wanted. I have some, particularly with that, like I have a lot of versatility between Max Muncy, Adalberto Mondesi, Javier Baez, and Chris Bryant. So like when O'Neal Cruz is ready to go, if for some reason somebody's not pulling their weight, I can easily get him in the lineup. And same thing, if Josh Lowe, who's Joshua Lowe on our product for what it's worth, if he's a big breakthrough right away, shouldn't be hard to get him in. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with the players I have starting there, and I feel like my starting pitching, considering I went 8 rounds or 7 rounds without drafting a pitcher after going, what do you call it, Chris? Hero Ace?
Hero SP.
Hero SP with Max Scherzer and Brandon Woodruff at the top. I think my pitching should be fine for a 16-team league. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Really happy with it.
Nice. Now every player that Chris mentioned is being drafted. Garrett Whitlock, Jordan Hicks.
They were all looking for suggestions.
I gotta say though, I got sniped in the 22nd round with a 343rd overall pick, and I'm actually upset about this.
Who was
Adam
it?
Frazier.
Adam Frazier.
Oh yeah, you have.
Seattle Mariners leadoff hitter Adam Frazier was going to be the key to everything. Was the one guy in my queue I didn't mention intentionally.
Jeez. All right, Chris, hit us here with your last pick.
I'll go with Andres Jimenez.
Hey.
Sounds like he's going to crack the everyday roster.
Jimenez is having a good spring, and what's dead may never die. So the dream lives with Andres Jimenez, who is 9 for 25 with a homer and 4 steals this spring. So very, very sneaky. Let's wrap there. For Scott and Chris, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.